Chapter 21. Countless people looked at Lin Yi, wanting to know what Lin Ye's Tai Chi diagram was. One had to know that it was an existence that could easily block Jun Hanli's attack. With such a defensive martial skill, he would definitely be invincible among those of the same level. No comment. Lin Yi smiled and said indifferently. Lin Yi was completely calm and collected. His words made Jun Hanli choke. The cultivators around the dueling ground could not help but be stunned. However, they could not do anything about it. This was Lin Ye's right. If he wanted to say something, he could say it. If he did not want to say it, he could not say it. Moreover, this was a martial artist's secret. A powerful trump card would not be a trump card if it was revealed. Lin Yi, I'll take one of your attacks. Jun Hanli said loudly when he saw that Lin Yi was about to leave. He had attacked Lin Yi once, but he couldn't even break through Lin Ye's defense. Moreover, he was several realms higher than Lin Yi. Speaking of which, he had been thoroughly defeated. He had no face at all. Now, he said that he would take one of Lin Ye's attacks. If he could save some face. With his cultivation and skills, it would be easy for him to take one of Lin Ye's attacks. Okay, I'll give you a chance. Lin Yi nodded and looked at Jun Hanli indifferently. He stood tall and straight on the battle platform. Come on. Jun Hanli activated the flaming gold scripture and made a defensive stance. He looked at Lin Yi seriously. At this moment, he no longer dared to treat Lin Yi as an ordinary person. Instead, he treated him as a terrifying opponent. A person without a martial soul, but was very powerful. It made people feel fear of the unknown. If Lin Yi had a peerless emperor physique, or even a saint physique, Jun Hanli would have some confidence. No matter what physique it was, there would be limits and records. It was all within control. He was afraid of the unknown. A profound martial skill should not be as good as yours. However, I'll let you see the power of a profound martial skill today. Lin Yi smiled and waved his hand, forming a sword art. However, he did not use a long sword. His hand was empty. While countless people were feeling shocked and curious, Lin Yi used his finger as a sword. A ray of sword chi appeared at the tip of his finger. The moment the sword chi appeared, it transformed into 6 rays of sword chi that shot towards Jun Hanli. Wherever the sword light passed, the space trembled slightly. The sword light instantly covered the distance of 20 meters. Hiss, 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 hiss. At this moment, a hissing sound could be heard from the fighting stage. It was the sound of Jun Hanli's defense colliding with the sword radiance. Out of the 6 sword lights, 4 were blocked by Jun Hanli. After blocking 4 sword lights, Jun Hanli retreated dozens of steps. The remaining 2 sword lights landed on his body, causing 2 bloody holes to appear on his body. The powerful destructive power and impact of the sword beam sent Jun Hanli flying. Finally, he fell heavily on the edge of the fighting ring. Jun Hanli only felt a sweetness in his throat, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Instantly, his face turned incomparably pale. This time, he was seriously injured. Not only was his body injured, but his heart was also injured. After Lin Yi displayed the sword light, he did not have the intention to make another move. From the beginning to the end, he did not move at all. Thunderclap sword technique. This is the thunderclap sword technique. The 6 sword, the thunderclap sword technique. 6 sword lights. This is the thunderclap sword technique. Is a mystic ranked martial arts technique really that powerful? He has only entered Xingwu College for less than half a year, and he has actually cultivated the thunderclap sword technique to the 6th sword. In the entire Xingwu College, he is the first person to cultivate the thunderclap sword technique to the 6th sword. This is too amazing. Teacher said that only 1,000 years ago, someone had cultivated the thunderclap sword technique to the 6th sword. After a short moment of silence, the fighting arena exploded with shocked voices. For a moment, there was a lot of discussion. All the students of Xingwu College were shocked by the thunderclap sword technique that Lin Yi had just displayed. Without using a sword, he had actually used his fingers as a substitute for a sword. If it were them, they would not be able to do it. No one had been able to cultivate the 6th sword, but Lin Yi had succeeded in less than half a year. I have lost. Jun Hanli stood up and looked seriously at Lin Yi as he spoke. After speaking, he left the fighting arena and walked out of Shengwu College. This time, coming to Shengwu College was the biggest mistake of his life. He did not expect a young man without a martial soul to be so terrifying. Some emperor bodies could not be compared to him at all. What was more terrifying was that this young man was very low-key, so low-key that it made people feel afraid. Lin Yi did not speak. He turned and walked down the fighting arena, leaving the fighting arena with Luo Xing, and the others. Although Jun Hanli and Lin Yi had left, the news of Lin Yi's terrifying defense and the sixth sword quickly spread. Countless geniuses of Shengwu College were shocked. They did not expect that Jun Hanli, a genius with an emperor body, would be defeated by Lin Yi, a young man without a martial soul. In particular, the defense and the sixth sword made people feel powerless. In less than half a year, he had cultivated the sixth sword, and his attack was unparalleled in the upper sky realm. With a domineering defense, he was invincible among those of the same level. At this moment, no one dared to look down on Lin Yi. No one dared to say that Lin Yi did not have a martial soul. Countless geniuses and experts who did not know Lin Yi remembered this name. Brother-in-law, you are too powerful. That strong defense is simply invincible. The sixth sword of the Thunder Crash sword art is invincible. Luo Xing held Lin Yi's hand and said excitedly. She looked as if the one who defeated Jun Hanli was not Lin Yi, but herself. In fact, she was even happier that Lin Yi defeated Jun Hanli than that she defeated Jun Hanli. Luo Bingwa looked at Luo Xing, and could not help but frown. However, she reacted quickly. She no longer had a promise with Lin Yi. She was also not Lin Yi's fiancée. It was normal for Luo Xing to be close to Lin Yi. Seeing this, she felt an inexplicable sense of loss. However, thinking about it, even if she had a promise with Lin Yi, Luo Xing would still stick to Lin Yi. She could only shake her head secretly towards her younger sister. Unfortunately, that defense is not suitable for you. That defense is called the absolute defense. Only I can cultivate it. Otherwise, I will teach you the absolute defense. Lin Yi smiled. He wasn't happy about defeating Jun Hanli. In other words, he didn't care about Jun Hanli at all. Jun Hanli was just a genius with a little aptitude. Absolute defense. It is indeed powerful, Luo Bingwa said. The name of this martial skill was indeed the same as its power. The absolute defense could be said to be impeccable. Even Jun Hanli's violent thunder fist could not shake it. She believed in Lin Yi's words. This kind of magical defense could only be cultivated by Lin Yi, who did not have a martial spirit. Lin Yi was full of mysteries. Without a martial spirit, he could comprehend the Luo Water true scripture and reach the Haute Eon 9th stage in less than half a month. Without a martial spirit, he could cultivate the sixth sword of the Thunderclap sword art in less than half a year. Without a martial spirit, he could have an impeccable defense. It could be said to be the absolute defense. Without a martial spirit, he was the person who had a promise. The promise from 800 years ago. The person who appeared in front of her was a youth without a martial spirit and cultivation. All of this was too mysterious and magical. If young Master Lin uses a level 9 spirit tool, will he kill Jun Hanli with one sword? Luo Linger asked curiously. If Lin Yi could injure Jun Hanli with a finger instead of sword, would he be able to kill Jun Hanli with one sword if he used a level 9 spirit tool? If so, they would be terrifying. After all, Jun Hanli was a super genius with a king body. No, geniuses like him all have trump cards and life-saving means. Mr. said that the biggest winner in this world is not success or failure, but who can live longer and more freely. Only those who can live freely are the real winners. Lin Yi didn't hesitate in the slightest and answered directly. Although he used a finger instead of sword to injure Jun Hanli with the sixth sword, he was not sure if he could kill him. Even if he used the Heavenly Flame Sacred Blade and the 10th Layer Destruction Blade, unless he used an invincible attack. Moreover, things in this world were not set in stone. Everything was subject to change. Brother-in-law, don't challenge the top 10 disciples. What do you think? In a few days, we will go to the secret land to train together. Luo Xing'er held Lin Ye's hand and kept shaking it. She looked up at him and begged. She could not let such a talented brother-in-law slip away. This elder sister of hers really made her worry. The secret land training. When will it be? Lin Ye did not answer Luo Xing. Instead, he looked at Luo Bingyue. With Luo Bingyue's talent and identity, although she would not go to the secret land to train, she would know a lot of information that he did not know. She should know about the secret land training. The secret land training will be in 5 days. This time, the secret land training will be a new secret land. Although it is a basic secret land, everything in the new secret land is unknown. There are many opportunities, but there are more unknown dangers. Everything is unknown. This is the news of the secret land training. Take a look, Luo Bingyue said. After that, she handed a jade slip to Lin Ye. Lin Ye took the jade slip and entered it with his divine sense. Suddenly, the information in the jade slip was imprinted into his mind. In the Sky-Sea realm, and even the entire divine continent, the secret land was divided into levels. The levels were based on the level of danger, the level of opportunities, and the amount of resources. Basic secret land, intermediate secret land, advanced secret land, and super secret land. Above the super secret land, there are some magical places. However, ordinary experts could not come into contact with these places. The secret land that Shunwu College allowed new disciples to enter was a new secret land. Everything in it was unknown. It was classified as a basic secret land because the danger was not great. Only those in the innate realm and the spiritual mirror could enter. Those above the innate realm would be blocked by restrictions. The so-called secret land was actually a small independent world or a ruin left behind from ancient times. It was just that these secret land and independent worlds were not parallel to this plane. After a while, Lin Ye finished reading the information in the jade slip. This secret land was indeed good. It was suitable for the Shunwu College's disciples to train. There is another news. This time, the new disciples of the 4 colleges will enter the secret land together. Chapter 22. The newcomers of the 4 academies are going to train together. Luo Xing, and Luo Ling exclaimed. The 4 academies competed with each other, and the students competed with each other. They had never joined forces before. They did not expect that this time, the 4 academies would train their disciples together. This time, the 4 academies had recruited more than 20,000 geniuses. With more than 20,000 geniuses entering the secret territory, the competition would definitely be fierce. Not only that, this time, the training is not limited to the innate stage newcomers. Luo Bingyue said lightly. She also wanted to go to the secret territory, but Shunwu College had a rule that before the successor disciples surpassed the spiritual mirror, they could not enter the secret territory and could not leave Shunwu College. Therefore, it was impossible for her to enter the secret territory. What? Not only the innate stage newcomers? Could it be that the spiritual mirror will also enter the secret territory? The spiritual mirror will enter the secret territory with the innate stage? Lin Ye, Luo Xing, and Luo Ling. Could not help but be surprised when they heard Luo Bingyue's words. Their eyes were all looking at Luo Bingyue. This was definitely a big news for them. Indeed, in addition to this year's innate stage newcomers, the previous batch of geniuses who did not enter the spiritual mirror will also enter this new secret territory. It is estimated that the number of people will reach more than 30,000 or even 40,000. When you enter, you have to be careful with every step. Not only do you have to pay attention to the unknown dangers, but you also have to be wary of the warriors of the 4 academies. Luo Bingyue said some information about the secret territory as they walked. This time, the secret territory was different from the past. In the past, only Shunwu College had innate stage warriors. This time, the 4 academies joined forces, and even the spiritual mirror was dispatched. It seems that we have to prepare well. With the appearance of the spiritual mirror, the innate stage warriors can only rely on luck. There should be some restrictions for the spiritual mirror. After listening to Luo Bingwe, Lin Yi couldn't help but take a deep breath. Training in the Hidden Territory was different from training in Shengwu College. Fighting was strictly prohibited in Shengwu College, and even the kingdom forbade killing each other. However, when it came to the wilderness and the Hidden Territory, no one cared. When encountering treasures, killing others to seize the treasures was a very normal thing. Originally, he thought that if it was just the new innate experts from Shengwu College, he would be able to defeat them easily. This was because Emperor Physique geniuses wouldn't be able to enter. As for the other geniuses, he didn't care about them at all. But now, with the 4 great academies working together, there were even spirit-driving realm cultivators going in. The new secret realm is full of unknowns. Danger is accompanied by opportunity. The training time for a secret territory is usually half a year, but the time for a new secret territory is hard to say. You guys should prepare well. I have already reached the peak of Xiantian 9th stage and am not far from the spirit movement mirror. I am preparing to go into seclusion and practice. Although Luo Bingwe was cold and unapproachable, she treated people with respect. However, she didn't treat her own people the same way she treated outsiders. This was especially so when Lin Yi, Luo Ling and Luo Xing went out to train and encountered a new mystic realm. She was worried. If something went wrong, it would be a farewell forever. Her cultivation had already reached the peak of Xiantian 9th stage, and it was only a matter of time before she broke through to the spirit movement mirror. Soon, the 4 of them returned to the Xian Ice Palace. Lin Yi promised Luo Xing that he wouldn't challenge the top 10 disciples. This meant that he would live in the Xian Ice Palace, which made Luo Xing and Luo Ling very happy. We will go to the Hidden Territory in 5 days. Everything that needs to be prepared is almost ready. I hope there will be some gains in the Hidden Territory. In the room of the pavilion, Lin Yi sat cross-legged and talked to himself. The 3,000 heavenly Tao automatically operated, calming him down. In fact, everything he had was in the ninefold space. The ninefold space was 10 miles in length, width, and height. No matter how many things there were, it could be stored. He could go anywhere he wanted. In his ninefold space, he divided it into several separate areas. One was to store spiritual weapons and cultivation items. The other was to store precious items. The other was to store things that he needed at any time. The other was to store daily necessities and dry food. The other was where he cultivated, and there were a few areas that were temporarily empty. Time passed day by day. On this day, Lin Yi was cultivating. When he sensed the arrival of Luo Xing and Luo Ling he stopped and waited for the 2 girls. Because today was the day to go to the Hidden Territory. Brother-in-law, brother-in-law. Luo Xing's sweet and clear voice sounded. When the voice sounded, she had already pushed the door open and entered. Lin Yi could only shake his head helplessly. Soon, Luo Xing's beautiful figure appeared in Lin Yi's line of sight. She was still wearing a black dress. Her fine black hair hung down to her waist, and there was a small jade bow on her head. It looked small and exquisite, and it was incomparably beautiful. It made Luo Xing look even more lovely and beautiful. Yes, I'm not deaf, Lin Yi answered in a bad mood. He pointed to the chairs beside him and let Luo Xing and Luo Ling who came later, sit down. Brother-in-law, you're still cultivating? The disciples who are going to the Hidden Territory have already gathered. Seeing Lin Yi's unhurried manner, Luo Xing couldn't help but feel anxious. She couldn't sit down at all. She came to Lin Yi's side and wanted to pull Lin Yi up, worried that he would miss the experience. Be more steady like your sister. Are you all ready? We need to stay in the Hidden Territory for at least half a year. Lin Yi was pulled up by Luo Xing. He tidied up his clothes and lectured Luo Xing. The 2 sisters looked exactly the same, but their personalities were completely opposite. One was cold, calm, and steady. The other was lively and loved to move. Young Master Lin, we're ready, Luo Ling said. As she spoke, she waved the storage pouch in her hand. Take this. Don't use it unless you have no other choice. Lin Yi muttered to himself for a moment and took out some runes from the ninefold space, as well as a few spirit weapons. If these two girls, Luo Ling and Luo Xing encountered danger in the hidden territory, it really made him worry. Rune, 3rd level rune. This is a 4th level rune. Spirit Sword rune, 3rd level peerless grade. Clear Breeze rune, 4th level lower grade. Wow, they're all 3rd level and 4th level runes. Luo Xing, and Luo Ling, looked at the runes and spirit weapons that Lin Yi gave them. They directly ignored the spirit weapons because they were only 4th or 5th level. Compared to the 9th level spirit weapons that Lin Yi gave them before, they were on a completely different level. However, they were stunned by the runes, and their faces were filled with excitement and shock. That's right, the runes that Lin Yi gave Luo Xing, and Luo Ling, were all 3rd level and 4th level runes. Moreover, they had both defense and attack runes, but the most important one was the runes for escape. For example, the Clear Breeze rune. Using the Clear Breeze rune could increase one's speed by several times. With these runes, even if they encountered the spirit movement mirror, they were completely confident that they could escape with their lives and even kill the spirit movement mirror. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't give them too many. If he gave them too many runes, the two girls would become dependent on the runes. This way, they would lose the purpose of training, and it would affect their future. 3 Clear Breeze runes, 3 Spirit Sword runes, and 3 Golden Shield runes. Both of them had 9 runes, which were enough to deal with an ordinary spirit movement mirror. Don't rely on them. They're used to save your life. Lin Yi said seriously. After entering the secret territory, everything was unknown. Although the 3 of them were together, they might be randomly teleported inside. After separating, without his protection, the 2 girls could only rely on their luck and their own strength. The runes would give them some extra trump cards. Thank you, brother-in-law. Thank you, young Master Lin. Luo Xing, put away the runes and spirit weapons. She was incomparably happy. She tiptoed and kissed Lin Yi on the cheek. Immediately, her beautiful little face revealed a touch of red. Luo Ling who was on the side, was also shocked by Luo Xing actions. She also thanked Lin Yi, but she didn't dare to be like Luo Xing. After that, Lin Yi, Luo Xing and Luo Ling left the profound ice palace together and walked towards the plaza of Paladin Academy. The students who had entered the secret realm to train would gather at the plaza. For a time, countless students rushed to the square to gather. The 3 of them could see Shengwu College students heading to the square everywhere. The appearance of Luo Xing, and Luo Ling stunned countless students. When they saw Lin Yi together, they were incomparably envious and even more jealous. Some students who heard that Lin Yi defeated Jun Hanli all nodded and greeted Lin Yi. Junior brother Lin, senior brother Lin, sister Luo. Along the way, many students greeted Lin Yi and the other 2. Those who greeted Lin Yi were all people who knew of Lin Yi's deeds. When they greeted Luo Ling, and Luo Xing, it was because of the beauty effect. No matter where they went, beauties were the focus of attention. Who is he? How do you address him as senior brother Lin? He looks like he's only 15 or 16 years old. After Lin Yi and the others passed by, a young genius at the peak of Xiantian Stage 9 whispered to his senior brother. One must know that his senior brother was at the peak of Xiantian Stage 9 and was only 1 step away from spirit formation. How could he address a youth as senior brother? And from the looks of it, his senior brother was very respectful to that youth. He's called Lin Yi. He's the fiancé of the one in the mystic ice palace. He doesn't have a martial spirit. Hearing his junior brother's words, the senior brother glanced at him and said in a low voice. While speaking, he looked at Lin Yi's back. If it was before, he would definitely look down on Lin Yi and even disdain Lin Yi. But after seeing Lin Yi defeat Jun Hanli in the battle, he didn't dare to have any thoughts about Lin Yi. Jun Hanli couldn't even withstand a single blow from Lin Yi, let alone himself. Mystic Ice Palace, Luo Bingyue. Luo Bingyue's fiancé. No martial spirit. How funny. Senior brother, could it be that you greeted Lin Yi because of Luo Bingyue? You don't have to be like this, right? With your cultivation, even if you're not as good as Luo Bingyue, you don't have to address Lin Yi as senior brother. Hearing his senior brother's words, the junior brother couldn't help but find it funny. What kind of place was the Mystic Ice Palace? It was the place where one of the two super geniuses with emperor physique lived. It was also the place where the #1 beauty of Shengwu College, Luo Bingyue, was known by everyone. At the end, the junior brother looked at his senior brother in confusion. Funny, you know Jun Hanli, right? The senior brother looked at his junior brother and couldn't help but shake his head. Chapter 23. Jun Hanli. I know what's wrong. The junior brother looked at his senior brother and asked. Jun Hanli can't even withstand a single blow from him. He's even more monstrous than Luo Bingyue. In less than half a year, the sixth sword of the thunderclap sword art. If there's anyone that shouldn't be provoked in the past 100 years, it's him. Try not to provoke him in the future. After the senior brother finished speaking, he walked towards the square. The junior brother listened to his senior brother's words and was completely stunned. He didn't expect that Lin Yi would be so terrifying. That Lin Yi had completely subverted his understanding. A youth without a martial spirit. Could he really be so terrifying? However, after asking around a little, he knew that Lin Yi's existence was even more terrifying than what his senior brother had said. Although he didn't have a martial spirit, a genius with an emperor body was completely vulnerable in front of him. In other words, comparing talent and bloodline was absolutely asking for humiliation. At this moment, the square was already crowded with nearly 10,000 Shengwu College students. Most of these students were this year's innate realm disciples. The rest were from the previous year's innate realm, and a portion of them were spirit-driving realm experts. Lin Yi. Lin Yi. He's Lin Yi. He's different from the rumors. Lin Yi. At this moment, the warriors who were preparing to enter the secret territory had basically all arrived. There was still a small number of them, who came one after another. The square was divided into different areas. Spirit-driving realms area. New disciples area. Previous innate realm disciples area. The appearance of Lin Yi and Luo Xing made many people recognize them. For a time, Lin Yi became the topic of discussion for countless students. Even the previous year's geniuses and spirit-driving realm experts looked at Lin Yi in a new light. His strength is not weaker than the top 10 disciples. The main opponents for this new secret territory are the other 3 colleges and the unknown secret territory. Innate realm experts, no matter how strong they can't be our opponents. If we give him another 2 years, he might become our opponent. He's only at innate realm 3rd stage. It'll take him at least 4 or 5 years to reach innate realm 9th stage. After 4 or 5 years, we'll become stronger. If he wants to be our opponent, he's still lacking. Some veteran innate realm and spirit-driving realm experts knew that Lin Yi was strong, but they didn't put him in their eyes. In other words, they didn't see Lin Yi as an opponent. The gap between the spirit-moving mirror and the innate realm was like a heavenly moat. Lin Yi's divine sense was powerful, and countless discussions were transmitted to his ears. But he turned a blind eye to it and pretended not to hear it. Their mouths were on other people's bodies, so it was impossible to block everyone's mouths. Besides, what these people were discussing didn't affect him at all. If they were discussing something offensive, he would have shut them up long ago. Time passed by, second by second. At noon, all the Paladin Academy students who were going to the secret realm had gathered at the plaza. The secret territory is officially open. Shengwu College's new disciples, the previous batch of innate realm disciples, and some spirit-driving realm disciples will enter the secret territory together. Along with you, there'll be other 3 colleges. Don't lose face for Shengwu College. Although entering the secret territory is not a death sentence, it's still very dangerous. I hope you can come back alive. This is a new secret territory. It's estimated that it will take half a year, at most a year. Then, the secret territory's spirit will send you out. At this time, an old man from Shengwu College appeared in everyone's line of sight. The old man was 70 years old. His strength couldn't be seen, but his body exuded a powerful and mysterious aura. His loud voice was like a bell, spreading throughout the entire sacred martial square. After the old man finished speaking, he pointed to the altar at the edge of the sacred martial square. All the warriors and powerhouses in the square looked at the altar. On the altar, 9 gray-robed old men were activating the array. The array exuded a mysterious and obscure aura. Bursts of light soared into the sky, dazzling. Rumble, rumble. With a series of muffled sounds, the array was activated. This was the transmission array of Shungwu College. It could send a large number of Shungwu College's students out. "Let's go," someone shouted. Immediately, countless warriors ran toward the transmission array of the altar, as if they were afraid of falling behind. The huge altar and the magical transmission array were like a bottomless black hole, swallowing countless Shungwu College's students. Lin Yi, Luo Xing and Luo Ling also ran toward the transmission array. Finally, they entered the transmission array. The 3 of them held hands, afraid of being separated. As soon as they got close to the altar, Lin Yi felt a strong suction force pulling him in. In an instant, without any resistance, the 3 of them disappeared in the light of the transmission array. 1 second, 2 seconds. For a full 30 seconds, Lin Yi was rapidly being transmitted in the light. His body couldn't move at all, as if he was imprisoned. After 30 seconds, the imprisonment disappeared. The light in front of him also disappeared. His whole body was suspended in the air and then fell straight down. Seeing this scene, Lin Yi was shocked. He quickly stabilized his body and descended. If he wasn't careful, he would definitely die if he fell from a height of 10 meters. Cool breeze shadow activated, and when it landed on the ground, the impact was completely negated. When he appeared, he also discovered countless Shungwu College's students. These students were like him. It was their first time using such a transmission array. Seeing them fall, they hurriedly stabilized their bodies and descended. For a moment, the air was like dumplings as countless students fell. After a moment, all the students who were transmitted stood on the ground. More than 5,000 students, a black mass. They were all innate and spirit manipulation realm cultivators. Lin Yi looked around. This place was a wilderness. However, he found a strong aura in the sky. It was the aura of countless strong warriors gathered together. Needless to say, the place where they appeared was not far from the secret territory. In front of us is the entrance to the secret territory. The people from the other 3 colleges have arrived. Let's hurry over. This time, when we enter the secret territory, everyone try to get as many precious herbs and resources as possible. At the same time, this secret territory has already formed a weapon spirit. If it exceeds the spirit manipulation realm, it will be destroyed by force. Let's go. The old man appeared in everyone's sight. After that, he led all the Shungwu College's disciples and ran towards the sky. Innate and spirit manipulation realm cultivators couldn't fly in the air. They could only run. Naturally, no one could bring the flying car because it was too big. The storage bag couldn't hold it at all. Of course, if it was Lin Ye's 9-fold space, it would be no problem at all. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. For a moment, the earth trembled. Figures rushed towards the sky. In a moment, they covered a distance of 10 miles. Everyone came in front of a huge lake. The lake had a radius of 100 miles. The lake water was so clear that the bottom could be seen. However, the closer to the center, the greener the lake water became, giving people a peaceful feeling. There were countless martial artists around the lake. These warriors were all students from the 4 colleges of the Yinshui Kingdom. The 4 colleges were Shunwu College, Nanfeng College, Sky Sword College, and Qingyan College. Among the 4 colleges, Sky Sword College was the most powerful. It had the largest number of people and was the most powerful. Most of the warriors in Sky Sword College practiced sword principle. Sword principle attacks were powerful. They were basically invincible among the same level. Except for Sky Sword College, the strength of the other 3 colleges was almost the same. This time, the 4 colleges worked together. The new disciples entered the secret territory together to gain experience. This was definitely the first time in hundreds of years. because the secret territory they entered this time was new and full of unknowns. In other words, everyone entered to explore the situation of the secret territory and unearth resources. The appearance of the Shengwu College students made the other three colleges look at them with hostility. Linyi also felt a strong hostility. This hostility was not directed at him alone, but at the whole Shengwu College. In fact, not to mention the other three colleges, even in Shengwu College, there were not many who knew Linyi. Naturally, the others did not know Linyi at all. They did not know who Linyi was. This time, Sky Sword College is still the strongest. Let's not talk about the innate realm. They have a lot of spirit-driving realm experts inside. This new secret territory seems to restrict people above the 5th layer of the spirit-driving realm and above to those above the age of 30. Those above the 5th layer of the spirit-driving realm cannot enter. Those above the age of 30 also cannot enter. If there was no spirit-driving realm, we might have some hope. But with a spirit-driving realm expert, we basically have no chance. Not necessarily. Entering the secret territory also depends on luck. By the lake, the students of the 4 colleges were discussing in low voices. There were a total of 40,000 martial artists gathered here, causing the air to emit traces of oppressive aura. If one's cultivation base and state of mind were low, they would feel suffocated in front of this oppressive aura. Linyi, Luo Ling, and Luo Xing were mixed in with the students of Shengwu College. Although they did not know where the entrance to the secret territory was, it was definitely related to this lake. Before the entrance to the secret territory opened, everyone could only wait by the lake, waiting for the secret territory to open. Time passed by minute until it was late at night. When the moon was full, the bright moon was like a round plate hanging in the dark night sky. The moonlight scattered a faint radiance, enveloping the entire lake. When the full moon was in the sky, the tranquil full moon emitted a ray of light. The light penetrated the space and fell on the lake. Suddenly, the water in the lake turned into light and quickly evaporated. In just 10 seconds, the water in the lake, which had a radius of 100 miles, completely disappeared. At the same time, a light altar appeared in the center of the lake. The altar was formed by light and shadow, mysterious and magical. The light above the altar merged with the light of the full moon. Rumble, rumble as the light merged. The heaven and earth emitted a roaring sound. A huge suction force spread quickly with the altar as the center. Within 100 miles, everything was sucked into the light by the mysterious suction force. Finally, everything disappeared into the light of the altar. No one knew where it went. Seeing this, the powerhouses of the 4 colleges who were above the 5th stage of the spirit-driving realm and under the age of 30 quickly retreated. Only the students who entered the secret territory were quickly sucked away by the suction force. In the end, a total of 40,000 innate and spirit-driving realm martial artists were sucked away by the light of the altar and disappeared between heaven and earth. The lake water that originally disappeared was now in the lake. The altar disappeared, the light disappeared. 40,000 martial artists disappeared, but the lake water remained the same. Chapter 24. The martial artists of the 4 academies were taken away by the light above the altar. Linyi didn't have the slightest ability to resist and let the mysterious power engulf him. The light wrapped around him and moved quickly. At this moment, he felt that his fate was controlled by someone, and he only felt powerless. Time passed second by second. After a full 20 seconds, Linyi felt a powerful force distorting the space. This force was not something he could stop. Following this force, his whole body was thrown out. The light disappeared, and his whole body strangely appeared in midair. His body fell down quickly. The Luo Water Sutra was activated to reduce the speed of the fall as much as possible so that he wouldn't fall to his death. If that happened, he would become a big joke. Of course, Xiantian martial artists couldn't fly in the air. If they suddenly appeared in the air, they would fall to their death. When he was about to reach the ground, Lin Yi used cool breeze shadow. Crack, with a crisp sound, the sound of a withered branch breaking. Lin Yi landed on the ground. After landing, Lin Yi looked around. The spirit qi is so dense. Lin Yi said to himself. The first impression that this place gave him was the dense spirit qi. It was 4 to 5 times denser than the mystic ice palace of Shengwu College. Cultivating here was 4 to 5 times faster than cultivating in the mystic ice palace. Moreover, the environment here was very good. The air was fresh, the flowers were fragrant, and the spirit qi was dense. It was like a fairyland. It was completely unlike the terrifying and dangerous secret realms in the legends that made people intoxicated. However, Chu Yin understood that the real danger didn't necessarily come from the environment. The real danger didn't necessarily come from a gloomy and terrifying place. This new secret realm was full of unknowns and even had very powerful beasts. Whereas Xing, and Ling are, it seems that the teleportation is random. I hope they can be safe. Lin Yi retracted his gaze. In his divine consciousness and vision, not to mention Luo Xing and Luo Ling he didn't even find a single human. He didn't even see a single beast. Generally, this kind of teleportation was basically random. When they came in, they were separated by the power of distortion. Both of them were only innate rankers. Furthermore, they were girls. In such an unknown place, they could only rely on their own luck and strength. He had no way to help them. Besides, even he himself was not that safe. It could only be said that there were too many strong geniuses from the 4 great academies, and there was also the powerful spirit movement mirror. Whoosh! Whoosh! Next, Lin Yi ran quickly. After 3 days, he finally figured out the general environment of this place. Here, he met several martial artists. Some were from Shengwu College, and some were from the other 3 colleges. Of course, there were also beasts. The beasts were all above the profound rank, which was equivalent to a spirit mirror martial artist. Several times, he was almost injured by the powerful profound stage demonic beasts. Fortunately, his strength was not bad. Coupled with his powerful defense and attack, he was able to escape from the profound stage demonic beast. This place is really dangerous. Without the cultivation of the spirit movement mirror, it's really hard to move an inch. Lin Yi escaped from a huge profound stage demonic beast. Looking behind him, he finally got rid of the powerful profound stage demonic beast. His heart relaxed a little. Finding a safe and hidden place, he sat cross-legged and began to recover his energy. After these 3 days of exploration, he already had a general understanding. In general, the spiritual energy was rich, the beasts were strong, and there were many martial artists. Unknown dangers came one after another. His cultivation was still too low. If he could raise his cultivation to the innate 9th stage, or even reach the spirit movement mirror, he might have a better chance of survival. Let's raise my cultivation to the innate 4th stage first. Lin Yi pondered for a while and decided. In this secret realm with rich spiritual energy, he had to raise his strength first. If his strength was too low, he could only run when encountering beasts. If he encountered strong people, he could only run. There was no chance to find any opportunities. Even if he found opportunities and treasures, he did not have the ability to obtain them. While speaking, a pill appeared in his hand. Rank 3 Spirit Pill, True Elemental Pill. It was suitable for innate and spirit movement mirror martial artists to increase their true essence. The power and preciousness of the true elemental pill was reflected in its effect. It could improve the cultivation of martial artists. A true elemental pill that cost 300,000 gold coins was not something that ordinary martial artists could afford. After refining a true elemental pill, Lin Yi's cultivation increased by a little. Time passed day by day. Every day, Lin Yi refined 10 true elemental pills. After 6 days, Lin Yi only had a few true elemental dawn left in his hands. These were the true elemental dawn he had bought with 30 million gold coins, and now they were almost used up. Fortunately, his cultivation had also improved by a large margin. Innate 5th stage, yes. In just 6 days, Lin Ye's cultivation had reached the innate 5th stage. Whoosh, whoosh, his cultivation had improved, and his strength had increased by a lot. If he continued to cultivate like this, at most he would increase his cultivation by a little. It would not increase his strength by much. Moreover, the purpose of entering the secret realm was not to cultivate, but to find opportunities and resources. After a little tidying up, his figure flashed, and he used cool breeze shadow. His whole person turned into a cool breeze and ran away. Jade spirit flower. This is a jade spirit flower. 100-year jade spirit flower. This time I'm rich. In the secret realm, there were dangers, but there were also opportunities and opportunities. Countless precious treasures were found by the warriors of the 4 major academies. The jade spirit flower was a kind of treasure. It could directly increase a post-celestial realm warrior's cultivation by a level. It could also greatly increase the cultivation of a spirit manipulation realm warrior. It could also be refined into precious spirit pills. A prodigy of Sky Sword Academy, who was at the post-celestial 8th stage, saw the jade spirit flower and recognized it. He was suddenly very excited. Dragon grass. 2 stalks of dragon grass. A prodigy of Southwind Academy, who was at the 1st level of spirit manipulation realm, accidentally saw 2 stalks of dragon grass. His face was filled with excitement, but it was replaced with seriousness. Because not far from the dragon grass, there was a huge mystic rank level 2 demon beast. A mystic rank level 2 demon beast was comparable to the 2nd level of spirit manipulation realm. With his strength, he could fight with a mystic rank level 2 demon beast, but to kill it, the chances were very small. Even if he could kill the mystic rank level 2 demon beast and get the dragon grass, he would be seriously injured. Roar, not good, a mystic rank level 6 flying eagle. An earth-shattering roar could be heard. When the roar was heard, a dark cloud appeared in the sky. The dark cloud was at least 30 meters in size. The dark cloud was moving quickly. When the dark cloud got closer, they realized that it was not a dark cloud, but a gigantic flying demon beast. And it was a mystic rank level 6 flying eagle. Flying demon beasts were one of the most terrifying existences among the demon beasts because they could fly, but human warriors could not. They could only passively take a beating. Seeing the flying eagle, a few of the post-celestial warriors and spirit manipulation realm warriors who were fighting for the treasures had their faces changed. They did not dare to stay any longer and used their fastest speed to escape. They did not even bother to fight for the treasures. However, the flying eagle's speed was terrifying, and the strength of its claws was terrifying. With every claw, an post-celestial or spirit manipulation realm warrior would fall. In just a few seconds, the 8 human martial artists had all fallen. Moreover, their bodies were almost completely shattered by the soaring condor's claws. Blood splattered everywhere, and in just a short while, the 8 human martial artists had all become food for the soaring condor. Hiss, 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 hiss in the sky. An invisible wind would appear from time to time. The wind was invisible, and anyone who touched it would die. No one knew how many warriors had died from the wind. No one knew how many warriors had died from unknown dangers. No one knew how many warriors had died from being eaten by the demon beasts. No one knew how many warriors had died from being killed by their own kind for treasures. Of course, there were also many martial artists who were lucky enough to obtain fortuitous encounters and natural treasures. Art of the Thundercrash Sword, 7th Sword. On this day, in a wasteland, Lin Yi was waving a rank 6 spiritual artifact longsword. As the longsword slashed out, a sword ray and sword chi shot out. In front of him was a silver snow wolf of the mystic rank level 2. Roar. Feeling the threat of death, the silver snow wolf let out a howl. It wanted to dodge the countless sword rays, but it was too late. Boom! A sword ray and sword chi fell on the silver snow wolf's body. The silver snow wolf unwillingly fell to the ground and could no longer stand up. A powerful mystic rank level 2 demon beast had died from the 7th sword of the Thundercrash sword. The 7th sword is indeed powerful. It actually has sword intent in it. Lin Ye's face was filled with fatigue, but it could not hide his excitement. He also did not expect that he would be able to cultivate the seventh sword of the Thundercrash sword in the secret territory. The seventh sword was the complete stage of the Thundercrash sword, the most powerful existence. Although it was only a mystic rank martial skill, the seventh sword of the Thundercrash sword was comparable to a high rank or even a supreme rank earth rank martial skill. More importantly, he had managed to cultivate sword intent. The seventh sword was even more terrifying than the sword intent. During this period of time, ever since Lin Yi reached the Xiantian Stage 5, he had been fighting with demon beasts. The demon beasts in the secret territory were all at least mystic rank. When he was at the Xiantian Stage 5 and fought with mystic rank demon beasts, the difference was obvious. However, with his powerful spiritual artifact, the Luo Water Scripture, as well as his terrifying defense and attack, he was able to fight with mystic rank level 1 and level 2 demon beasts. In 11 days, Lin Yi had hunted 30 mystic rank level 1 demon beasts and 23 mystic rank level 2 demon beasts. In actual combat, it allowed his strength to soar rapidly. Not only did his realm increase, but his actual combat strength was also crazily accumulating. However, although he had hunted a lot of mystic rank demon beasts, he had also consumed some level 3 talismans. Whoosh, whoosh, just as Lin Yi was preparing to pack up the silver snow wolf's materials, a gust of wind sounded. He was very familiar with this sound of wind. This was the sound of a martial artist rushing through the air. Not daring to be careless, his eyes swept around, and at the same time, his divine sense spread out. Everything within a radius of 500 meters was seen in his eyes and imprinted in his mind. In his line of sight, a graceful figure was running quickly. Rather than saying that it was running, it was better to say that it was fleeing for its life. Moreover, the direction in which the silhouette was running was precisely in his direction. Her speed was extremely fast, and the distance between them was constantly closing. This also allowed Lin Yi to clearly see that the silhouette was a beautiful and delicate young girl, about 16 or 17 years old, wearing a light blue dress with a badge on the front of the dress on the left chest. This badge was the symbol of a student of Shengwu College, and he also had one. The girl was none other than Luo Ling. Not far behind Luo Ling, two young men were chasing after her at a leisurely pace. The two young men were both spirit mirror martial artists. Chapter 25. Seeing Luo Ling being chased, Lin Yi's killing intent rose in his heart. He knew that the two young men were chasing Luo Ling because they wanted something. It was either a treasure or because they valued Luo Ling's beauty and wanted to get their hands on Luo Ling. In this kind of mystic realm, it was normal to kill and steal treasures. It was also normal to burn, kill, and plunder. Especially a beautiful girl like Luo Ling. She was the target of countless warriors. Seeing Luo Ling, they naturally wouldn't let her go. Ling is quite lucky. I wonder how Xing'er is doing. Lin Yi muttered to himself as he watched Luo Ling and the two young men running towards him. Although his expression was calm, the killing intent in his heart was even more intense. If Luo Ling didn't meet him, she would definitely be defiled. The consequences would be unimaginable. Thinking of this, his killing intent became even more intense. At the same time, he was even more worried about Luo Xing'er. Although he had no relationship with Luo Bingyue, Luo Xing'er had always treated him as her brother-in-law. Their relationship wasn't something ordinary friends could compare to. Run. Why aren't you running? The two young men, one in white and the other in blue, had a badge on their chest. There was an emblem on his left chest, Sky Sword Academy. Seeing Luo Ling stop in front of him, the young man in white revealed a playful smile. His eyes swept over Luo Ling's body, and his heart was burning. Although this girl from Shengwu College had a low cultivation, she was very beautiful. However, Luo Ling didn't pay attention to the two young men behind her. Her beautiful eyes were looking forward. Finally, she couldn't suppress the grievance in her heart. Crystal clear tears rolled down her cheeks because she saw a familiar figure. Although that figure's cultivation wasn't high, he gave her trust. "Young Master Lin," Luo Linger shouted, her voice still trembling. "Linger." Lin Yi walked forward step by step with an encouraging smile on his face. Soon, he arrived in front of Luo Ling. His eyes swept over Luo Ling-er's body and found that there were several scars on Luo Ling-er's body. Although these scars weren't fatal, they were painful. Needless to say, these scars were left by the two youths. "Yo, I met a fellow disciple. No wonder you stopped running." The young man in white had also noticed Lin Ye's presence. However, he was curious as to why a puny Xiantian would dare to appear in front of them. When he spoke, his tone was strange. It was obvious that he did not think highly of an innate rancor. "Now, I'll give you 1 second to regret." Lin Ye's eyes were cold, and his voice was even colder. He could already tell that the two youths were both at the first stage of the spirit channeling realm. They were both geniuses of the Sky Sword Academy, and both of them were proficient in sword down martial skills. Their attacks were sharp and overbearing. However, this did not affect Lin Ye's determination to eliminate the two of them. The people from Shunwu College aren't that strong, but their degree of arrogance is definitely number 1 in the 4 major colleges. When a young man in blue heard Lin Ye's words, he could not help but be startled. Then, he became furious. A Xiantian martial artist dared to speak to them like this. He was simply courting death. He did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. "Die!" Lin Yi stretched out his hand, and 2 talismans appeared in his hand. The 2 third-level talismans burst out with a terrifying sword chi. The sword chi condensed into a sword light, and the sword light went straight to the 2 youths. Suddenly, the air twisted and tore, and the wind raged. The third-level talisman was powerful enough to kill a 7th or 8th stage spirit channeling realm martial artist. Dealing with 2 first-stage spirit channeling realm martial artists was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. So what? Lin Yi had a lot of third-level talismans. Third-level talisman. Talisman again. In the air, the 2 sword light slashed down. When the 2 youths saw the power of the talisman displayed by Lin Yi, they were shocked to death. They never thought that Lin Yi would have such a terrifying talisman. Previously, Luo Ling also used a talisman. Otherwise, Luo Ling would have been caught by them. Now that they met a Shunwu College Xiantian martial artist, he actually used a third-level talisman, and it was even a peerless-level talisman. For a moment, the 2 youths were shocked to death. This was a peerless-level, third-level talisman that could kill a 7th or 8th stage spirit channeling realm martial artist. At this moment, the 2 youths regretted it to death. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. They could only display the most powerful technique of the spirit channeling realm and face the 2 sword light head-on, hoping to block the sword light in the air. Rumble, rumble, the 2 youths from the Sky Sword Academy each displayed an overbearing sword light. Suddenly, the talisman's sword light collided with the 2 youths' sword light. There was an explosion in the air, and the air was distorted. The wind raged, and the flowers and trees within 100 meters were in a mess. Pucci, the 2 youths spat out a mouthful of blood. However, the 2 youths were not killed by the sword light. One must know that the physical defense of a spirit-channeling realm martial artist was not something that a Xiantian martial artist could compare to. Also, the attack of a spirit-channeling realm martial artist was far beyond the imagination of a Xiantian martial artist. A peerless-level, third-level talisman was actually unable to kill a first-stage spirit-channeling realm martial artist. Seeing this, Lin Yi was even more convinced of the strength of a spirit-channeling realm martial artist. If his cultivation had not reached the Xiantian 8th or 9th stage, he would not be able to fight with a first-stage spirit-channeling realm martial artist. Of course, this was under a fair fight. If he used a powerful spiritual weapon and martial technique, he would be able to fight with a spirit-channeling realm martial artist. Thunderclap's sword art, 7th sword. Lin Yi was shocked, but he did not dare to hesitate. With a wave of his hand, a 7th-level spiritual weapon longsword appeared. As soon as the longsword appeared, the seventh sword of the thunderclap sword art suddenly burst out. The terrifying sword light cut through the air and bombarded the youth in white. The sharp sword light carried sword intent and directly sent the youth in white flying. More than 10 bloody holes appeared on the youth in white. His forehead was also pierced through. There was no longer any trace of life. He could not be more dead. In the air, there were bursts of thunderous sounds. Thunderclap sword art. The youth in blue had just reacted from the terrifying attack of the talisman when he saw Lin Yi use the thunderclap sword art to kill his companion. He was shocked and his face turned pale. At the same time, he was also puzzled. Was this really the thunderclap sword art? However, there was no time for him to be shocked at this moment. Ignoring his serious injuries, his figure flashed and quickly escaped. This was because this youth from Shunwu College was too terrifying. No one in the entire Yinshui kingdom had been able to cultivate the seventh sword of the thunderclap sword art for hundreds of years, but this youth was able to cultivate it. Moreover, this youth had a talisman on him. If he did not escape, he could only die here. Want to leave? Too late. When Lin Yi killed the youth in white, he noticed that the youth in blue wanted to escape. He said lightly, and the long sword in his hand drew a sword light. The sword light broke through the air and went straight to the youth in blue. The power of the seventh level spiritual weapon, the tyrannical power of the seventh sword, and the sharpness of the sword intent fused together. Boom! Hiss in the air. The thunderclap sword art was accompanied by the overbearing sound of thunder. Then, the sword light fell on the youth in blue. The youth in blue quickly escaped. The inertia rushed forward for dozens of meters before he stopped. When he stopped, his body had been cut in half by the sword light. First level of the spirit, driving realm, dead. In just a few seconds, 2 Sky Sword Academy martial artists at the first level of the spirit driving realm were killed by Lin Yi. From the beginning to the end, Lin Yi's expression was calm, as if the person who killed the 2 spirit driving realm martial artists was not him. Sword intent. Luo Linger had been watching from the side, because she knew that with her cultivation strength, she couldn't help Lin Yi at all. Instead, she would drag Lin Yi down. Seeing that Lin Yi had used the thunderclap sword art to kill the 2 spirit moving realm cultivators, she couldn't help but be shocked. Her beautiful face was also filled with shock because she could see that Lin Yi had already cultivated the thunderclap sword art to the 7th sword. More importantly, Lin Yi controlled the sword intent. Even if it was only a trace of sword intent, this trace of sword intent was real. Linger, where's Xing? Lin Yi took away the storage pouches from the 2 Sky Sword Academy martial artists and returned to Luo Linger and asked, Young Master Lin, Linger did not meet Xing. We separated when we were teleported into the secret territory. Luo Linger said. Thinking of the encounter in the secret territory, she still had a lingering fear. Fortunately, she met Lin Yi. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. How was a harvest? What happened just now? Lin Yi glanced at Luo Linger and saw that Luo Linger was already at the peak of the Xiantian 5th stage and was only 1 step away from the Xiantian 6th stage. She should have gained something in the secret territory. I did gain something. Young Master Lin, Linger found an underground palace. Look at this, it was because of this. Luo Linger nodded. She did gain something, and it was a big harvest. However, her cultivation strength was too low. Opportunities would always be opportunities and could not be collected. As she spoke, a blood-red fruit appeared in her small hand. The fruit was the size of a fist and exuded a mysterious aura. Then she handed the fruit to Lin Yi without the slightest fear that Lin Yi would kill her and steal her treasure. Blood Soul fruit. I didn't expect it to be a Blood Soul fruit. You got it in the underground palace? Lin Yi took the fruit and looked at it carefully. The expression on his face was constantly changing. Even when he obtained countless talismans, he was not so surprised. He did not expect that this fruit would actually make his heart move. He had already recognized that this fruit turned out to be the legendary Blood Soul fruit. Blood Soul fruit could enhance the spiritual power of a spirit sense master. This was exactly what he needed. Now that he had the spiritual power of the 21st step, if he wanted to upgrade his spiritual power, it would be countless times more difficult than upgrading his cultivation. However, if he had the blood soul fruit, then upgrading his spiritual power would become easy. Yes, outside the underground palace. I got a total of 3 blood soul fruits, but I was discovered by the people of Sky Sword Academy. There should be more blood soul fruits in that place. The people of Sky Sword Academy found out that I got the key to the underground palace and chased after me. Luo Linger took out a round blood jade. The blood jade exuded a mysterious pattern. For this blood jade, she was chased by the spirit sense mirror of Sky Sword Academy. If she had not met Lin Yi, she really did not dare to imagine what would have happened to her. Is there anyone else in that place? When Lin Yi heard Luo Linger's words, he could not help but be shocked. With a thought, he opened the storage bag that he had just obtained and found that there were indeed blood soul fruits in the storage bag. There were 3 on one side and 2 on the other, a total of 5 blood soul fruits. Including the 3 from Luo Linger, there were a total of 8 blood soul fruits. Chapter 26. Now, I don't know, but when I left, no one else found out. I just don't know if they spread the news. Luo Linger shook her head. She was the first to discover the underground palace, and then she was discovered by the people from the Sky Sword Academy. This was also the reason why Luo Ling was being chased by the 2 martial artists from the Sky Sword Academy. Until now, she didn't know if the 2 martial artists from the Sky Sword Academy had spread the news. Logically speaking, they wouldn't spread the news. But there are exceptions to everything. Let's go and see. Lin Yi returned the blood soul fruit to Luo Linger and said, since the underground palace was discovered, and it might be blood soul fruits in the underground palace, he naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity. Luo Linger nodded and replied. Then, Luo Linger swallowed a restore pill to stabilize her injuries. After he was done with everything, he brought Lin Yi and rushed towards the underground palace. Did you use your talisman? While running, Lin Yi observed Luo Linger from time to time, worried that her running would affect the recovery of her injuries. But fortunately, Luo Linger's injuries were not serious, and she could recover with a little rest. I used to, Luo Linger replied. If she had talismans, she wouldn't have had the chance to escape from the 2 spirit movement realm martial artists. Take these. Lin Yi pondered for a moment. He didn't give them a lot of powerful talismans because he didn't want them to rely on him. Now it seemed that in this new secret territory, without the cultivation of a spirit movement realm martial artist, they wouldn't have the qualifications to protect themselves. Even if it was a spirit movement realm martial artist, they might not be able to return safely. Thinking of this, Lin Yi took out some 3rd-level talismans and 4th-level talismans from the 9-layer space. With these talismans, as long as they didn't encounter a top spirit movement realm martial artist, Luo Linger would have no problem protecting herself. Thank you, young Master Lin. Luo Linger received the talisman from Lin Yi and immediately became excited. With these talismans, as long as his luck wasn't too bad, he would be able to return safely. Even if he encountered a powerful spirit movement mirror, he would still be able to severely injure him. In front of a large mountain, there was a precipice. A stone door appeared on the cliff. The stone door was 10 meters tall and 5 meters wide. However, this stone door was not open. It was unknown what was behind the stone door. The stone door was emitting a mysterious luster. Originally, there was no luster on the stone door, and no one had even discovered it. However, the Sky Sword Academy martial practitioners had rushed over after receiving some information. After carefully examining the cliff, they discovered the location of the key card slot and confirmed that the slot was the entrance. Some martial artists who could not bear it any longer began to attack the precipice. A stone door appeared on the cliff that had been attacked. The stone door emitted a mysterious glow of divine runes. Order Yu Yang to take out the secret key. Don't tell me we're really going to waste time like this. A spirit-channeling realm martial artist from Nanfeng Academy looked at the Sky Sword Academy martial artists and said, no one knew how he got the news from the Sky Sword Academy and spread the news, causing countless martial artists to rush over. Now, under the precipice, the martial artists from the 4 major academies were all present. Moreover, there were still many martial artists rushing over. This place could be said to be one of the most lively places in the secret territory. Shuetian, go in if you have the ability. If we had the secret key, we would have already gone in. It would have nothing to do with you. Order Yuyang looked coldly at Nanfeng Academy's Shuetian and said lightly. He and Shuetian were both ninth-grade spiritual pulse prodigies from the 4 major academies. Now, their cultivation had reached the 5th stage of the spirit channeling realm. If they really fought, they would not dare to say that they could defeat each other, let alone kill them. You must be joking. The news came from your Sky Sword Academy. Shenwu College's Li Zipping said coldly. In a new secret realm, there would be new opportunities and opportunities. If it was any other secret realm, it would have been searched countless times already. There wouldn't be many treasures and opportunities left behind. Even if there were, they would be in dangerous places. A new secret territory was different because it was full of unknowns and had not been explored yet. Now that there was a treasure, no one wanted to miss it. Order Yuyang, the Sky Sword Academy cannot monopolize it. The secret territory has half a year of training time. If this continues, it will not be good for everyone. Azure Rock Academy's Chung Sicheng said loudly. In this secret territory, he represented the Azure Rock Academy. For a moment, the people from the 3 major academies looked at the Sky Sword Academy martial artists. This news came from the Sky Sword Academy, so the secret key was most likely in the hands of the Sky Sword Academy. Although the Sky Sword Academy was the strongest among the 4 major academies, in front of benefits, the 3 major academies would definitely not let the Sky Sword Academy monopolize the treasure. Under the precipice, the Sky Sword Academy had nearly 200 people, Shenwu College had more than 100, Azure Rock Academy had more than 100, and Nanfeng Academy had more than 200. The 3 major academies were enough to crush the Sky Sword Academy. Among these people, most of them were innate. With countless spirit mirror present, innates naturally did not have the qualifications to speak. In other words, innates were cannon fodder. They rushed to the front, but when it came to obtaining benefits, they had to stand aside. To be honest, the secret key is not in the hands of the Sky Sword Academy. The secret key is in the hands of the people from Shenwu College. Ling Yuyang's expression turned ugly. He realized that the person who sent the message had not appeared until now. At that time, he only gave a location. The person who sent the message said that he was going to snatch the secret key, and that the secret key was in the hands of the martial artists from Shenwu College. The secret key is in the hands of the people from Shenwu College? Are you kidding? How can we believe it? It's in the hands of the people from Shenwu College? Ling Yuyang, is this true? In whose hands? Since you know that it's in the hands of the people from Shenwu College, is there any reason not to snatch it? Hearing Ling Yuyang's words, it aroused everyone's suspicion and disbelief. The news was spread by the people from the Sky Sword Academy. Now, Ling Yuyang said that the secret key was in the hands of the people from Shenwu College. According to the style of Ling Yuyang and the Sky Sword Academy's martial artists, there was no reason not to snatch it in the secret territory. That secret key is in the hands of a female innate realm student. Ling Yuyang snorted coldly. He did not get much information. He only knew that there were treasures in this place, and that the Sky Sword Academy's martial artists were chasing after a female student from Shenwu College. This female student was only a small innate realm martial artist. The secret key in the hands of the female student was the news that Ling Yuyang got. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. There were martial artists rushing over from time to time, but they were unable to enter the stone door. This was because to enter the stone door, one needed the secret key to open it. Other than that, no matter how powerful the attack was, it was useless. So many people. I didn't expect those 2 to spread the news. Among the martial artists rushing over to the cliff, Lin Yi and Luo Ling are also arrived. Seeing the countless martial artists from the 4 great academies, they were extremely shocked. He really did not expect those 2 geniuses from the Sky Sword Academy to spread the news. Logically speaking, when encountering a treasure, the fewer people who knew about it, the better. They would not easily spread the news to others. Young Master Lin. That card slot is the location of the secret key. I went inside before. As long as I put the secret key in, the stone door will open. After entering the stone door, there's a 1,000-meter-long passage that extends underground. At the end of the passage is an independent small world. The blood soul fruit was obtained from there. At that time, I discovered that the secret key should be able to open the mechanism array inside. But by the time I discovered it, the people from the Sky Sword Academy had also discovered me. I did not have the chance or time to test it out. Luo Ling said in a low voice. She had already given the secret key to Lin Yi from the beginning. She knew that with her cultivation and strength, she would not be able to keep the secret key. Only Lin Yi had a chance. And the stone door will naturally open. But we have to find a way to shake off the others and strive to be the first to enter the innermost part. When the time comes, don't leave my side. If necessary, use the talisman. Lin Yi nodded. As he spoke, he walked towards a cliff. When he reached the bottom of the cliff, he arrived at the side of the martial artists from the Shengwu College. He did not know any of these martial artists from the Shengwu College. However, there were some Xiantian and spirit-channeling realm martial artists who knew Lin Yi. However, no one greeted him. Mixed in with the crowd from the Shengwu College, Lin Yi chose a place near the stone door to sit cross-legged and began to rest. He restored his mental energy to its peak state and entered the stone door at its peak state. The other martial artists were all discussing spiritedly, waiting for the person with the secret key to appear. Time passed by minute. After half an hour, Lin Yi's cultivation and strength had recovered to its peak state. He stood up and walked towards the stone door. No one noticed his movements at all. This was because the martial artists present had all looked at the stone door and tried to find a way to open it. The martial artists present naturally did not believe that the person with the secret key was Lin Yi. Behind Lin Yi, Luo Ling followed closely. Lin Yi learned from Luo Ling that the Blood Jade secret key had always been on the card slot of the stone door. Only then did Luo Ling activate the secret key to enter the underground palace behind the stone door. Rumble, rumble, just as all the martial artists were discussing, a loud sound erupted from the stone door on the cliff. A strong light was emitted from the stone door. This movement caused all the martial artists to look over in shock. When they saw the situation of the stone door on the cliff, countless people were shocked and excited. They saw a young man holding a blood jade-like secret key in his hand and opening the stone door. The stone door was slowly opening. "Let's go." Lin Yi opened the stone door. Just as a small crack appeared on the stone door, he shouted in a low voice. He held the secret key in one hand and Luo Ling in the other and flashed through the stone door. Seeing Lin Yi and Luo Ling enter the stone door, the martial artists present reacted. For a time, countless martial artists rushed towards the stone door, wanting to enter the stone door and snatch the treasure as soon as possible. However, the stone door was not completely open. If they wanted to enter, they had to enter one by one. The martial artists of the 4 colleges present were not willing to let others enter first. This caused everyone to block the stone door. No martial artist had expected this scene. Rumble, rumble, after a full 10 seconds, the stone door was completely open. Chapter 27. Luo Ling had been in there once before. Although she was not familiar with it, she was still familiar with it. The two of them entered the passage and ran towards the end of the passage as fast as they could. "Young Master Lin, do we need to look for the blood soul fruit?" Luo Ling asked softly as they ran. Her voice trembled slightly. Lin Yi held her hand tightly. In the dim passage, Lin Yi could not see the blush on Luo Ling's face. "No need. Let's go straight in. I hope we could get rid of these people," Lin Yi said without hesitation. The blood soul fruit was indeed precious, but he was more concerned about the treasures in the underground palace. Moreover, the blood soul fruit outside the underground palace was limited. With countless warriors fighting for it, he would not be able to gain the slightest advantage. "Okay," Luo Ling nodded gently in response. As the two of them spoke, they had already reached the end of the passage. After leaving the passage, Luo Ling, led Lin Yi towards a thicket of trees. Lin Yi saw that these trees were all branches of the blood soul fruit. He even saw a blood soul fruit hanging on a branch. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Just as Lin Yi and Luo Ling entered the thicket, a gust of wind sounded. Countless warriors had also arrived at the end of the passage. However, Lin Yi and Luo Ling had already disappeared from the sight of all the warriors. If they wanted to find Lin Yi and Luo Ling, they could only search in the thicket. Moreover, as the number of people increased, it was impossible to know who had the key. Young Master Lin, it's here. The thicket was not large, at most 1 li in size. Luo Ling led Lin Yi to a corner. There was a small altar in the corner. The altar was engraved with runes, and the convergence point of the countless runes was the location of the key. It's a teleportation array. A short-distance teleportation array. Lin Yi glanced around and recognized that this altar was a transmission array. The last time he was in the wilderness, he had entered an ancient sect that had been buried. He had used this altar's transmission array to descend. This altar was not much different from the previous one. Without any hesitation, he placed the key at the center of the altar. Boom! With a muffled sound, a beam of light shot out from the altar. The appearance of the light excited countless warriors who were searching for the blood soul fruit in the thicket. This was because the light was like a bright lamp in the dark night. It meant that the person who held the key was there and was activating the mechanism array. Immediately, countless warriors rushed toward the light. Enter, Lin Yi didn't know how long this teleportation array could last. However, he didn't dare to hesitate at all, because he had already seen countless warriors rushing towards him. If he was any slower, he would definitely be pushed off the altar by the other warriors. Whoosh! Luo Ling, and Lin Yi disappeared in the light of the altar. When they reappeared, there was an ancient city in front of them. The ancient city exuded an ancient aura, and the spiritual qi was extremely dense. The spiritual qi in the air was almost tangible, just like a fog. Lin Yi and Luo Ling were surprised by this situation. They didn't expect that there would be an ancient city under this underground palace. However, the two of them didn't feel any life in this ancient city. It was like a dead city. They didn't know how big the ancient city was, but they were in it. Let's leave here first. The others have also entered. Lin Yi pulled Luo Ling, and chose a direction. They quickly ran away from the place where they had just landed, so as to avoid encountering other warriors. Although he wasn't afraid of those warriors, it would be troublesome. After all, he had the key to the underground palace in his hand. He would definitely be the target of murder and robbery. The two of them kept running. After an hour, the two of them were 200 miles away from the place where they had just appeared. With such a long distance and the size of the ancient city, it would be like looking for a needle in a haystack for other warriors to find them. I didn't expect that there would be an ancient city here. I wonder what city this is. Luo Ling muttered to herself during the break. She looked at Lin Yi with her beautiful eyes, and her eyes were gentle. Seeing this, Lin Yi quickly shifted his gaze. There is no one in this ancient city. However, it is suitable for cultivation. Let's look around slowly and see if we can find anything. Lin Yi said, although this was an ancient city without any life, with such dense spiritual qi, there should be treasures of heaven and earth, because dense spiritual qi could give birth to treasures of heaven and earth. Besides, this was not a dead city, and there were flowers and trees. Taking a step back, even if they did not find any treasures of heaven and earth or other resources, it would be good to cultivate in this place for a few months. With such dense spiritual qi, 1 day of cultivation was equivalent to 6 or 7 days of cultivation outside. Okay, Luo Ling nodded obediently. Next, after the two of them rested, they searched in the ancient city. Primordial spirit fruit. It's the primordial spirit fruit, a treasure that can directly raise a primordial warrior's realm. In the ancient city, Luo Ling was extremely excited. In front of her was a tall tree. The tree was lush with green leaves and was full of spiritual qi. Hidden in the tree were fist-sized fruits, green and exuding pure spiritual qi. Seeing these fruits, Luo Ling recognized that they were the legendary primordial spirit fruit. This was a treasure that could raise a primordial warrior's cultivation. It is indeed the primordial spirit fruit. However, each primordial warrior can only use 3. Linyi was also very happy. Previously, he got the blood soul fruit, a treasure that could raise spiritual sense. Now, he encountered the primordial spirit fruit that could raise a warrior's cultivation. This secret realm was indeed a treasure house. Soon, Lin Yi and Luo Ling picked all the primordial spirit fruits. There were a total of 37 primordial spirit fruits. Blood soul fruit, 300-year-old blood soul fruit. Lin Ye's voice had a trace of excitement. This time, the two of them got 19 300-year-old blood soul fruits. Big Dipper flower, it's the Big Dipper flower. It is said that this can raise the realm of a Big Dipper realm expert, and the effect is the same as the primordial spirit fruit. Time passed day by day. Lin Yi and Luo Ling gained a lot in the ancient city. They got a lot of treasures of heaven and earth, all of which could raise a warrior's cultivation strength or spiritual sense master's spiritual sense. Moreover, the two of them also got a lot of spiritual weapons, as well as some cultivation methods and martial skills. Unknowingly, 3 months had passed. In other words, there were only 3 months left before they left the secret realm. At this time, Lin Yi used the primordial spirit fruit and successfully raised 3 levels to the peak of Xiantian LV8, only 1 step away from LV9. Moreover, after using the blood soul fruit, his spiritual sense reached level 25. Luo Ling's cultivation also reached Xiantian LV8. Of course, this was also the power of the primordial spirit fruit. During the day, the two of them searched for treasures in the ancient city. At night, the two of them looked for palaces and rested and cultivated separately. Luo Ling cultivated outside, while Lin Yi entered the ninefold space. On this day, Lin Yi exclaimed, "What's wrong?" Hearing Lin Ye's exclamation, Luo Ling could not help but feel nervous, thinking that they had encountered danger. She looked around and found nothing unusual. Then, she looked up at Lin Yi. "Look, it seems that something is attracting it." Lin Yi took out the blood jade key and said. At this moment, the blood jade key was emitting traces of blood-red light. It was obvious that the blood jade key had sensed something, because normally the blood jade key would not react at all. In other words, the blood jade key would not emit light on its own. Is there some treasure? Luo Ling was surprised and delighted when she saw the changes on the blood jade key. If there was a treasure attracting the blood jade key, it would be a good thing. If there were any changes, it would definitely be a disaster. Let's see. Lin Yi held the blood jade key and spread out his spiritual sense. He followed the direction of the blood jade key. Luo Ling followed closely beside Lin Yi, looking around with her beautiful eyes. Based on the intensity of the light emitted by the blood jade key, she could tell that the place attracting the blood jade key was not far away. This made her heart beat faster. In 2 hours, the two of them had walked 100 miles. Dragon God Palace. There was a huge palace with the words Dragon God Palace engraved on it. In front of the 3 words, Lin Yi felt a strong pressure that almost made him lie down. Sweat kept dripping down his cheeks. Gradually, the 3 words began to change in Lin Ye's eyes. Hiss, with a slight sound. Lin Yi was pulled away by a magical force. At the same time, Luo Ling who was beside him, was also pulled away by a magical force and disappeared. When the two of them reappeared, they were already in a hall. There was nothing in the hall. However, there was a space-time gate. "Mr. Lin, do you want to go in?" Looking at the space-time gate, Luo Ling had no idea and asked Lin Yi. "Go in." Lin Yi pondered for a moment and answered. As he spoke, he walked towards the space-time gate. He stepped into the space-time gate and disappeared. Seeing Lin Yi enter the space-time gate, Luo Ling did not hesitate and also walked towards the space-time gate. Bang, however, the moment Luo Ling got close to the space-time gate, The space-time gate emitted a strong force and directly bounced Luo Linger away. This sudden change caught Luo Ling off guard. Her delicate body was sent flying and fell heavily on the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. What's going on? Luo Ling looked at the space-time gate in confusion. She wanted to ask Lin Yi, but Lin Yi had already disappeared into the space-time gate. For a moment, Luo Ling was nervous and afraid. Even if she was a Xiantian warrior, she was still a young girl. She did not know what to do when she was alone in this hall. Behind the space-time gate, Lin Yi appeared in a palace of 7-colored light. In the palace, there was a magical light shield, and 3 items were floating. The 3 items were rotating gently, giving off a mysterious feeling. Chapter 28. Why didn't Linger come in? Lin Yi looked away from the 3 items and realized that Luo Ling didn't follow him in. He couldn't help but feel puzzled. However, at this moment, he had no way to leave even if he wanted to. He didn't know how to leave this place at all. After pondering for a moment, he looked at the blood jade key in his hand. He could enter with the blood jade key, but Luo Ling didn't have the key. This should be the reason why she couldn't enter. He looked at the 3 items in the array again. He was curious, but he didn't dare to act rashly. With a move of his divine telekinesis, the powerful level 25 divine telekinesis dragged the blood jade key and slowly approached the array. Lin Yi stared at the blood jade key and the array, paying attention to the changes in the array. Hiss, at a distance of 10 meters, the blood jade key quickly approached the array. When the blood jade key got close to the array, it let out a hissing sound. The light shield quickly melted like the spring sun melting the winter snow. After a few breaths of time, the light shield of the array disappeared. However, the 3 items were still floating and spinning in the air. Roar at the moment when the array completely melted, an unparalleled pressure crushed down and shrouded Lin Yi. Lin Yi almost knelt down. All the bones in his body felt like they were about to fall apart. This terrifying pressure made Lin Yi's mind tremble. He couldn't even summon the slightest consciousness to resist. This feeling was too powerless. In his line of sight, a golden divine dragon was hovering in front of him. However, this golden divine dragon shadow was not real. However, the terrifying pressure was emitted from this golden divine dragon shadow. Human Jr. The golden divine dragon spoke in human language and examined Lin Yi with its dragon eyes. Senior divine dragon. Lin Yi looked at the golden divine dragon and his mind trembled. Even if he was a fool, he knew that this golden divine dragon wasn't ordinary. It should have already transcended. Such an existence, even if it was just a shadow, could make him disappear with a thought. He didn't dare to be disrespectful and respectfully addressed the golden divine dragon as senior. Within a month, if you can't control one of them, you will disappear. The golden divine dragon ignored Lin Yi and continued to speak in human language. Its domineering dragon might crush this space. In this place was the absolute ruler. His voice was wooden and emotionless. As it spoke, it looked at the 3 items floating in the air. As his voice fell, the golden dragon's shadow disappeared. It had appeared out of thin air, and now it had disappeared into thin air. The real dragon's head could be seen, but its tail could not be seen. It came and went without a trace. A month? Master what? Lin Yi mumbled to himself when he saw the golden divine dragon disappear. However, the tyrannical dragon might in the air did not weaken. It also did not disappear along with the golden divine dragon image. At this moment, when Xiao Chun thought of the 1-month time limit, he did not dare to delay. He walked towards the 3 items step by step. Now, he no longer had the slightest scruple. This was because his life was now in someone else's hands. If he was wary of the 3 items, he might be wiped out by the golden divine dragon's shadow. He stretched out his hand and grabbed one of the golden pages. Boom! The moment his finger touched the golden page, there was a loud bang in his mind. It was as if a bolt of lightning had exploded, causing Lin Yi to bleed from his 7 orifices. His body was on the verge of collapse. However, there was a huge amount of information coming from the golden page. The huge amount of information made his mind dizzy. For a moment, he was unable to completely summarize the information. Fortunately, he had a powerful spiritual sense, which was countless times stronger than ordinary martial artists. Otherwise, just this amount of information was enough to turn him into an idiot. Divine Dragon 9 Transformations. After a full quarter of an hour, Lin Yi finally summarized the huge amount of information. When he summarized the information, he finally understood that the information on this golden page was a domineering cultivation method. Body tempering cultivation method, a powerful physique. However, he did not know the level of this body tempering cultivation method. Divine Dragon 9 Transformations. 5 transformations to become a saint, 9 transformations to become a god. 9 transformations, 1 transformation to a heaven, 1 transformation to a world. Lin Yi did not dare to delay at all. He quickly sat down cross-legged and began to comprehend and cultivate the Divine Dragon 9 Transformations. The profoundness of the Divine Dragon 9 Transformations shocked him. He discovered that the profoundness of the Divine Dragon 9 Transformations was second only to his 3,000 heavenly Daos. Time passed by minute. Unknowingly, a day had passed. Lin Yi shook his head helplessly. It was too difficult to cultivate. He couldn't even get started, let alone master it. He stood up and looked at the other golden page and an incomplete rune. Without hesitation, he reached out to grab the golden page. Just like before, a huge amount of information surged into his mind. Heavenly Phoenix Divine Seal. After a quarter of an hour, Lin Yi had also completely summarized the information. Knowing the information was also a type of cultivation technique. To be precise, it was a type of martial skill. He sat down cross-legged and began to comprehend and cultivate. This time, in less than a moment, Lin Yi stopped comprehending and cultivating. This was because he discovered that the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Seal was not suitable for him to cultivate at all. Or at least, it was not something that he could cultivate or touch right now. He shook his head helplessly and stared at the incomplete rune. He reached out to grab the rune. Bang, puff, just as he touched the incomplete rune, Lin Yi was sent flying by a terrifying force. His body fiercely fell to the ground, and he felt an intense pain in his chest, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. The incomplete rune was like a taboo that did not allow him to touch it at all. I'd better comprehend and cultivate the 9 transformations Divine Dragon. A bitter smile appeared on Lin Yi's face. A month's time, and a day had already passed. It was impossible for the rune and the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Seal to succeed. His only hope was still on the Divine Dragon 9 Transformations. This time, he could only return to the Divine Dragon 9 Transformations that he had chosen at the beginning. Otherwise, he could only be erased by the Golden Divine Dragon. Could young Master Lin be in danger? In the hall, Luo Linger looked at the space-time gate and said in a daze. She was extremely worried, but at the same time, she felt a trace of fear and nervousness. As time passed, Luo Linger also sat cross-legged and began to cultivate in the hall, waiting for Lin Yi's return. Only when Lin Yi returned could she leave the hall. Fortunately, she still had countless spirit fruits and rations in her storage bag, so she wouldn't starve to death. In the ancient city of the underground palace, there were already hundreds and thousands of martial artists. Countless martial artists were searching for heavenly treasures and cultivation resources in this ancient city. Time passed day by day. On the street, a petite figure was carefully running. Biluo fruit, the treasure of the spirit mirror. Luo Xinger came in front of a Biluo tree. Looking at the fruit on the Biluo tree, her beautiful face revealed excitement. It would be strange if she wasn't excited to encounter such a heavenly treasure. Looking around to make sure there were no other creatures or humans, she quickly reached out to pick the Biluo fruit and put it in her storage bag. After collecting the Biluo fruit, she quietly left, not daring to stay. I wonder how Linger and brother-in-law are doing? Luo Xinger was not worried about Lin Yi at all, because she knew that Lin Yi was very strong. Even if he was only in the Xiantian realm, Lin Yi gave her the feeling that he could escape unscathed if he encountered the spirit mirror. What worried him was Luo Linger. With Luo Linger's cultivation, she could die at any time in the secret territory. The new disciples of the 4 great academies were training in the secret territory. At the entrance, some experts of the 4 great academies were guarding, waiting for the disciples to return. In Yinshui City, there was a piece of news. This news immediately shook Yinshui City. The originally calm Yinshui City was now in an uproar. Countless warriors were discussing the number 1 genius of the Moon Kingdom, Huangfu Jinglei. In half a year, he will challenge all the geniuses of the 4 great academies of the Yinshui Kingdom. When this news spread, all the warriors in Yinshui City were excited. Even the royal family was paying attention to this news. The geniuses of the 4 great academies were even more eager to fight. However, when they thought of the strength of the number 1 genius of the Moon Kingdom, Huangfu Jinglei, they felt their hearts tremble. They did not have the slightest confidence in defeating Huangfu Jinglei. They did not even have the courage to accept the challenge. Huangfu Jinglei, born with a thunder body, with a peerless emperor body, even if he encountered an ordinary saint body, he could still fight. The 23-year-old Huangfu Jinglei had already reached the 9th level of the spirit mirror. He was invincible in the spirit mirror. He was definitely a genius. Everywhere he went, he was like the moon surrounded by stars. Moreover, his identity was even more frightening. The crown prince of the Moon Kingdom, the number 1 genius. Such an identity represented the future of the kingdom. It was believed that in a few years, Huangfu Jinglei would be able to control the Moon Kingdom. Using the resources of a kingdom to cultivate a super genius was terrifying. Huangfu Jinglei is challenging geniuses with emperor bodies. In the 4 great academies, there are many geniuses with emperor bodies in the spirit mirror. However, compared to Huangfu Jinglei, there is still a big gap. This is completely suppressing the Yinshui Kingdom. Among the geniuses with emperor bodies in the Yinshui Kingdom, there are 2 goddesses. They are Luo Bingyue and Su Ningyan. I think Huangfu Jinglei is targeting these 2. The Moon Kingdom is ranked in the top 5 among the 36 kingdoms in the Sky Sea realm. If Huangfu Jinglei becomes the king of the Moon Kingdom, he will definitely attack the Yinshui Kingdom and even annex the Yinshui Kingdom. It's a pity that the Yinshui Kingdom is not strong enough. Otherwise, we would not be suppressed by the Moon Kingdom. In the Yinshui City, from the super strong to the ordinary people, everyone was talking about Huangfu Jinglei. It seemed like a grand event, but to the warriors of the Yinshui Kingdom, it was definitely not a good thing. At most, the geniuses of the Yinshui Kingdom would become Huangfu Jinglei's stepping stones, or even a disgrace. Some of the higher-ups in the royal family were also helpless. Whether it was in terms of national strength, resources, geniuses, or strong warriors, the Yinshui Kingdom could not compare to the Moon Kingdom. The difference between the 2 countries was huge. They were not even on the same level. In the past few years, the Moon Kingdom and its forces had been suppressing the Yinshui Kingdom. Almost every time the 4 academies recruited disciples, there would be a genius from the Moon Kingdom challenging the 4 academies. Every time, the 4 academies would lose. Chapter 29. The 9 transformations of the Divine Dragon. 1 transformation was a layer of heaven. 1 transformation was a world. According to the records of the Divine Dragon 9 transformations, if one could evolve the Divine Dragon 9 transformations to the extreme, they would be immortal and indestructible. However, cultivating the Divine Dragon 9 transformations was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. It was even more difficult than ascending to the heavens. Great wisdom, great perseverance, great opportunity, great luck, and great luck. None of these could be missing. The Divine Dragon 9 transformations had a total of 9 levels, also known as the 9 transformations. Earth Dragon transformation, Flood Dragon transformation, True Dragon transformation, Flying Dragon transformation, Azure Dragon transformation, heavenly dragon transformation, holy dragon transformation, and divine dragon transformation. The seven-colored palace was filled with endless true dragon chi. Lin Yi sat cross-legged and seriously comprehended the divine dragon 9 transformations. At this moment, he was already clear on the power and mysteriousness of the divine dragon 9 transformations, and was even more clear on the profoundness of the divine dragon 9 transformations. However, if he did not cultivate it, he would be erased by the golden divine dragon shadow. The divine dragon 9 transformations was the main, and the 3,000 heavenly Daos were auxiliary. Relying on his extraordinary thinking and analytical ability, he cultivated the divine dragon 9 transformations with his unparalleled perception. Time passed day by day. Finally, on the 13th day, Lin Yi finally comprehended the first transformation of the divine dragon 9 transformations. After comprehending it, he began to cultivate, and on the 21st day, he successfully cultivated the first transformation of the divine dragon 9 transformations. Earth dragon transformation, success. Suddenly, Lin Ye's figure flashed like a powerful earth dragon. The air was constantly distorted and the space was torn apart. Rumble, rumble, Lin Ye's agile figure and domineering power caused sonic booms to erupt in the air. Adding on the double damage from the invincible attack, the Earth Dragon transformation's power was even more terrifying. Lin Yi could feel that with the power of the Earth Dragon transformation and the double damage from the invincible attack, he could definitely kill someone of the same level with a single punch. Defense, it had the defense of an Earth Dragon. Roar. With a roar, his 5 fingers formed a claw. With a swipe of his claw, it was as if space itself was being torn apart. Lin Ye's figure finally stopped. Unknowingly, the golden dragon's shadow had appeared in front of Lin Yi. At this moment, Lin Yi was immune to the dragon's might of the golden dragon's shadow. He didn't want to be oppressed like before. This was to be expected. After all, he had been comprehending and cultivating in the endless domineering draconic might all this time. Senior Shenlong. Lin Yi bowed to the golden divine dragon. He believed that the golden divine dragon had already seen the matter of him cultivating the divine dragon 9 transformations. Come back here when you master the divine dragon's 5 transformations. Repair the divine dragon talisman as soon as possible and enter the divine dragon palace. Go! The golden divine dragon's voice was emotionless as it stared at Lin Yi. After he finished speaking, the 2 golden pages and the incomplete rune floating in the air floated towards Lin Yi. At the same time, Lin Yi's body was swept up by a mysterious force and was quickly thrown into the air. Behind him, there was nothing at first, but at this moment, a space-time door appeared. Just as he grabbed the 2 golden pages and the incomplete rune, Lin Yi's body had already entered the space-time gate. Thump, 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 Lin Yi appeared on the other side of the space-time gate. However, his body staggered a few steps back before he could stabilize his body. Young Master Lin. A clear and sweet voice sounded in his ears. Hearing this voice, Lin Yi knew that it was Luo Linger. He turned around and looked at Luo Linger, only to see Luo Linger looking at him in surprise. Linger. Lin Yi glanced at Luo Linger and called out. He knew that Luo Linger was unable to enter the Rainbow Palace because she did not have the Blood Jade key. Thinking of this, he could not help but feel guilty. After all, the Blood Jade key was obtained by Luo Ling. Now, he had obtained a great opportunity, while Luo Linger was blocked outside the Rainbow Palace. Young Master Lin, what did you get? Luo Linger looked at the golden pages and incomplete rune in Lin Ye's hand and asked curiously. This was not because she wanted Lin Ye's treasures, but purely out of curiosity. After all, Lin Yi might have entered the center of the underground palace. A body refining cultivation method. It's a type of martial skill. An incomplete rune. Lin Yi briefly explained the situation in the Rainbow Palace. He did not want to hide anything from Luo Linger. Otherwise, it would leave an inner demon in his heart. After all, he felt that he had taken advantage of Luo Linger. As he spoke, he handed the 2 golden pages and the incomplete rune to Luo Linger. Luo Linger took the golden pages and the incomplete rune, glanced at them briefly, and finally returned them to Lin Yi. It seems that young Master Lin only obtained a qualification. The real treasure is in that divine dragon hall. Body refining cultivation methods are not suitable for me. I will try to cultivate the heavenly phoenix divine seal. Who knows, I might be able to cultivate it. Luo Linger giggled and said. She was a smart person. Naturally, she could see some problems from Lin Ye's encounter in the Rainbow Palace. In other words, Lin Yi did not obtain the real treasure, but only a qualification, an opportunity to enter the Divine Dragon Hall. However, it was not that easy to enter the Divine Dragon Hall. Take it and comprehend it. Let Xing, and the others try. Lin Yi handed the golden pages of the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Seal to Luo Ling. Okay. Luo Linger nodded in agreement. Then, the two left the hall. In less than 15 minutes, they appeared outside the Divine Dragon Hall. They did not expect to come out of the Divine Dragon Hall after spending almost a month in there. They felt like they had been reborn. After leaving, the two of them spread out and headed into the distance. The ancient city was just a place in the Mystery Land. In the Mystery Land, there were countless opportunities and dangers. Nearly 40,000 martial artists from the 4 academies entered the Mystery Land. It was like throwing a handful of sand into the sea. Some obtained opportunities, some became food for the demonic beasts, and some died from unknown dangers. As time passed, nearly 1/3 of the martial artists who entered the Mystery Land died. However, those who survived had basically gained a lot. They had either improved their cultivation, obtained treasures of heaven and earth, obtained powerful martial skills and cultivation methods, or obtained spiritual weapons. Messages were passed on to the martial artists in the Mystery Land. Hurry, go to Sky Capital Peak as fast as you can. An incredible treasure has appeared in Sky Capital Peak. This is the location of Sky Capital Peak. It is said that a heaven-class cultivation method and powerful spiritual weapons have appeared there. There's also a spiritual garden. Countless experts have already rushed there. Someone has obtained a level 9 spiritual weapon there. Sky Sword Academy's Wei Li obtained a heaven-class martial technique. Shengwu College's Li Zipping obtained a king-level demonic beast's egg. For a time, the Mystery Land became lively. Although the Mystery Land was big, the attraction of the treasures was unparalleled. Countless experts rushed to Sky Capital Peak. Sky Capital Peak, no one knew where it was. Because this was a new Mystery Land, some places inside had not been named. However, someone in the Mystery Land made a simple map and marked the location of Sky Capital Peak. In this way, the experts who were closer to Sky Capital Peak directly rushed to Sky Capital Peak to snatch the treasures there. The news was only passed on among the same sect. Shengwu College's martial artists, as long as they were within 1,000 miles, they would receive the news on their identity crystal. 8th level of Spirit Mirror, Nanfeng Academy's Xue Tian's face revealed an excited expression. After being in the secret territory for 3 months, he had already obtained many precious treasures, which allowed his cultivation to rise to the 8th level of the spirit channeling realm. With his talent and strength, he was definitely one of the strongest in this secret territory. One must know that the martial artists who entered the secret territory were limited to the 5th stage of the spirit maneuvering realm. Martial artists above the 5th stage were unable to enter the secret territory. Once a martial artist reached the spirit maneuvering realm, it was not a matter of a day or two, but rather years. Therefore, for him to rise 3 levels in 3 months in the Mystery Land, it was definitely a miracle. Even the geniuses who were at the same level as him would be left far behind. With this level 9 spiritual weapon, even a 7th or 8th level of Spirit Mirror would have to suffer. Green Rock Academy's Long Feiyun looked at the long saber in his hand. He cultivated the way of the saber, and his martial techniques were mainly based on the saber. This time, he obtained a level 9 spirit weapon from the secret territory. For his current cultivation, it was like adding wings to a tiger. Even if he faced a martial artist at the 7th or 8th level of the spirit realm, he was confident that he could defeat them. Biluo fruit is really magical. A Biluo fruit directly raised me from the peak of the 5th level to the peak of the 6th level. There is still a Biluo fruit left. It should be able to raise me to the peak of the 7th level of Spirit Mirror. However, it is best if I don't use it. I will save it for when I reach the peak of the 8th level. Sky Sword Academy's Ling Yuyang looked at the fruit in his hand with a smile on his face. After reaching the Spirit Mirror, it was very difficult to improve one's cultivation. Even for a genius like him, with countless resources to cultivate, it would still take a few months to raise a level. The Biluo fruit broke the rules and directly raised the Spirit Mirror by 1 level. Sky Capital Peak? Sky Capital Peak? In the ancient city, Lin Yi and Luo Ling spoke at the same time. Their faces revealed a trace of doubt. On their crystal chips, there was a gathering message. This gathering message was naturally sent by the students of Shengwu College. Everyone within 1,000 miles could receive the message. They received the message, which meant that this place was 1,000 miles away from them. The distance of 1,000 miles for the two of them would only take 4 to 6 hours. There are also map coordinates. Young Master Lin, should we go? Luo Ling looked at the information on her crystal chip and then looked at Lin Yi. Go, of course we will go. But not now. Lin Yi pondered for a moment and replied. Since a treasure appeared, and it was within 1,000 miles, he naturally would not miss it. However, he did not rush over now because he had other plans. Luo Ling looked at Lin Yi in confusion. She did not know what Lin Yi was planning. Obviously, a treasure appeared, so why didn't he go now? If he went late, the treasure might be snatched away by other strong cultivators. We receive the news, so other strong cultivators must have received the news too. The more the news spreads, the more strong cultivators will rush to the Sky Capital Peak. The real treasure will appear later. At this moment, there are killings everywhere in the Sky Capital Peak. Killing people to snatch treasures is not the real treasure. We won't get any benefits if we go now. Instead of this, we might as well look for resources here. It's much safer than the Sky Capital Peak. Lin Yi smiled. In his view, the treasures in the Sky Capital Peak might not be as good as those in the ancient city. Instead of taking risks, it was better to look for treasures in the ancient city safely. However, he had to go to the Sky Capital Peak. First, Luo Ling might be in the Sky Capital Peak. Chapter 30. After listening to Lin Ye's words, Luo Linger agreed. Next, Lin Yi and Luo Linger ran around the ancient city in search of heaven and earth treasures. During the day, Lin Yi cultivated the thunderclap, sword art, and shadow breeze. At night, Lin Yi entered the ninefold space to cultivate the divine dragon 9 transformations and heavenly phoenix divine seal. He also cultivated the 3,000 heavenly Tao, invincible attack, and absolute defense. Time passed by day. A month later, Lin Yi and Luo Linger left the ancient city and appeared outside the underground palace. Whoosh, 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 the two figures flashed and quickly headed towards the Sky Capital Peak. Along the way, they met other strong cultivators and also fellow disciples of Shengwu College. When they met fellow disciples, the two naturally formed a group. This way, they would not be killed by the strong cultivators of other colleges. Junior sister Luo, don't get separated when the time comes. Follow me, and I'll keep you safe. Keep your eyes open, lest you die in the Sky Capital Peak. Along the way, Dong Jianxing had a high and mighty look. When he talked to Luo Linger, he acted as if he was number 1 in the world. When he talked to Lin Yi, he glanced at him contemptuously. He did not put a pre-celestial realm cultivator in his eyes at all. The other Shengwu College students could see that this senior brother Dong Jianxing had taken a fancy to Luo Ling. They all knew that senior brother Dong was pretending, but no one said anything. After all, Dong Jianxing was already at the 5th level of the spirit formation realm. His strength was not something they could compare to. Thank you for your reminder, Senior Brother Dong. Lin Yi smiled and replied. His tone was light and carefree, without the slightest care. As long as he was willing, in this secret realm, no one could do anything to him. Sister Luo, I wonder what is your relationship with junior sister Luo Bingyue? When Dong Jiansheng saw Lin Ye's appearance, he was slightly angry in his heart. However, he had to pretend to be magnanimous and act like a senior brother. He didn't want to bicker with Lin Yi. In other words, he had to show that he didn't put a mere Xiantian in his eyes. He no longer paid any attention to Lin Yi and focused all his attention on Luo Linger. Senior Dong, Luo Bingyue is my cousin. Luo Ling said with a smile. Naturally, she could tell that this senior brother Dong was trying to curry favor with her. However, she didn't put this senior brother Dong in her eyes at all. To put it nicely, he was a genius. To put it bluntly, he was just an idiot. However, there was no need for her to offend this senior brother Dong. So you're a junior sister Luo Bingyue's cousin. In the future, don't hang out with people with ulterior motives. When senior brother Dong heard about the relationship between Luo Linger and Luo Bingyue, his eyes suddenly lit up. When he accidentally saw Lin Yi standing beside Luo Linger, he couldn't help but frown. Luo Bingyue, he didn't dare to think about it. However, if he could get his hands on Luo Linger with the relationship between Luo Linger and Luo Bingyue, he would have a backer in Shengwu College in the future. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel excited. I don't understand what senior brother Dong is saying. Hearing Dong Jianqing's words, Luo Linger was surprised. She naturally knew that the person Dong Jianqing was talking about was Lin Yi. He was telling her not to hang out with Lin Yi and treat Lin Yi as someone with ulterior motives. Immediately, Luo Linger felt unhappy. What's his name? He should be a disciple who entered the college this year. Dong Jianqing stopped running and asked Luo Ling. He looked at Lin Yi with a scrutinizing attitude. Senior brother Dong. His name is Lin Yi. Luo Linger answered with a smile on her beautiful little face. The smile of a beauty was devastatingly beautiful. Dong Jiansheng was almost stunned. Lin Yi, remember your identity. Cultivate well. Don't think about taking shortcuts. Dong Jiansheng didn't even look at Lin Yi as he lectured Lin Yi. At this moment, he had the attitude of a senior brother. During the time when the college was recruiting new students, Dong Jiansheng had been cultivating in seclusion. He didn't know anything about Luo Bingyue and Lin Yi. Naturally, he didn't know who Lin Yi was. Oh, then senior brother Dong, tell me, what is my identity? Lin Yi replied with an "oh," and looked at Dong Jiansheng with a faint smile. Identity? What identity? The identity of an ordinary college disciple? Humph, are you talking back to your senior brother? In Shengwu College, etiquette is the most important. Dong Jiansheng put his hands behind his back, and his eyes became cold. He didn't expect that a little Xiantian martial artist would dare to talk back to him. This was provoking him. Challenging his authority in front of so many martial artists of Shengwu College was intolerable. At this time, dozens of Shengwu College students stopped. Some people who knew Lin Yi were waiting to watch a good show. Those who didn't know Lin Yi looked at Lin Yi with gloating eyes. Remember your identity. At the same time, you have to thank your identity. If you weren't a student of Shengwu College, you would be a dead man now. Just a little bit of cultivation and you're floating. I really admire you. Lin Yi said lightly. His tone was light and gentle. It seemed peaceful, but it carried a tone of teaching. The fifth layer of the spirit driving realm was indeed a strong martial artist. But that was only in front of Xiantian. In the spirit driving realm, the fifth layer was nothing. In terms of martial arts, the spirit driving realm was just a beginner. It was far from being a strong martial artist. I won't kill you, but a lesson is unavoidable. Dong Jianqing's face became ugly. He was provoked and humiliated by an Xiantian martial artist. If he didn't teach Lin Yi a lesson, he would become the joke of countless strong martial artists. At that time, how could he face other martial artists? If he was alone, he would have already killed Lin Yi. Now, there were many martial artists of Shengwu College watching. More importantly, he didn't want to lose his demeanor in front of Luo Linger. While speaking, he mobilized the cultivation of the spirit driving realm and was about to teach Linyi a lesson. But before he could make a move, a talisman pattern appeared in Linya's hand. The talisman pattern burst out with a terrifying aura. Suddenly, a huge palm print pressed down on Dong Jiansheng. The air was constantly distorted. The space was trembling. All the martial artists of Shengwu College were pressed down by this palm print. They couldn't move at all. Their faces were full of horror and disbelief. Boom! With a loud explosion, all the shocked and sluggish martial artists of Shengwu College came to their senses. That overbearing palm print crushed Dong Jiansheng's body. Puchi Dong Jiansheng spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was like a kite with a short string. Finally, he fell to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. "Trash like you. You're not worthy for me to make a move," Linyi said lightly. From the beginning to the end, Linyi looked calm, as if killing Dong Jiansheng had nothing to do with him. After saying that, his figure flashed and ran away. Luo Linger followed closely behind Linyi. She was not surprised that Linyi injured Dong Jiansheng. Even the expression on her face did not change. In her eyes, Linyi injuring Dong Jiansheng was a reasonable thing. Only a few of the martial artists present had heard of Linyi. As for the others, they didn't know Linyi. Seeing that Linyi casually used a talisman to seriously injure Dong Jiansheng, who was at the 5th stage of the spirit-driving realm, their faces were full of shock and fear. The talisman was a treasure that could only be found by chance. They didn't expect Linyi to be able to use it so casually. It made them envious. "Senior Dong, young Master Lin is my cousin's fiancé." Luo Linger's voice reached Dong Jiansheng's ears from afar. Naturally, it also reached the ears of all the Shengwu College martial artists. Hearing that Linyi was Luo Bingyue's fiancé, they couldn't help but be shocked. The super genius with the emperor body, the goddess of the Yunshui kingdom, Luo Bingyue. Almost everyone knew about her. And this low-key, unknown young man turned out to be Luo Bingyue's fiancé. How could they not be shocked? All the martial artists reacted and quickly chased after Linyi. They no longer dared to be with Dong Jiansheng. Wasn't this obvious? Following Dong Jiansheng meant offending Linyi. Although they didn't know what ability Linyi had, Luo Bingyue was not someone they could afford to offend. Luo Bingyue's fiancé? Damn it. Dong Jiansheng got up and saw that all the Shengwu College martial artists had left, leaving him alone. Even if he was a fool, he knew that these Shengwu College martial artists were on Lin Ye's side. Thinking of how he had just taught Linyi a lesson and pretended in front of Linyi, he couldn't help but feel his face burning. The distance of less than 1,000 miles was covered by Linyi and the others in just 6 hours. Everyone came to the front of a tall mountain peak. The peak towered into the clouds. In front of the peak, there was a 100-meter high stone tablet with the words Sky Capital Peak engraved on it. "This is Sky Capital Peak. Let's go to the peak. Let's go too. So many martial artists are coming. I wonder what treasures there are on the peak." Arriving in front of Sky Capital Peak, the Paladin Academy's martial artist sighed, then unfolded his body and sprinted up the mountain peak. No one dared to split up, as they were worried that they would be killed by the martial artists of the other academies. The martial artists from the other 3 great academies were also traveling together. Without seeing any treasures, they didn't intend to fight. Their goal was the peak of Sky Capital Peak. At this very moment, countless martial artists from the 4 great academies had gathered at the top of Sky Capital Peak. Every martial artist was rubbing their fists, eager to go all out and snatch the treasures here. On the peak, there was a huge altar. On the altar, there were 99 seats in the shape of a trapezoid. On the first step, there were 33 seats. On the second step, there were 22 seats. On the third step, there were 11 seats. On the fourth step, there were 9 seats. On the fifth step, there were 8 seats. On the sixth step, there were 7 seats. On the seventh step, there were 6 seats. On the eighth step, there were only 2 seats. On the ninth step, there was only 1 seat. The distance between each step was 10 meters. At this moment, only half of the 99 seats were occupied, and most of them were on the first 3 steps. There were only a few people on the 4th and 5th steps. As for the seats above the 7th step, no one had sat on them yet. Countless martial artists on the peak looked at the seats on the altar with envy. However, it wasn't that easy to sit on them. It was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Chapter 31. In 7 days, they will be teleported into the treasure vault. The higher the seat, the better the treasure. It's so cool up there. 1 day of cultivation is equivalent to 10 days of cultivation outside. 1 day of cultivation at the top is equivalent to 1 month of cultivation. Really? How do you know? You just arrived, right? 2 months ago, the artifact spirit on the altar said so. How can one sit up there? It said that it depends on talent. Countless people have tried, and only they can sit up there. As long as they don't get chased away by others, they won't encounter any pressure. At the top of Sky Capital Peak, there were endless discussions. Everyone looked at the people on the altar and wanted to sit up there, because as long as one sat on the altar, they would be teleported into the treasure vault to choose a treasure. As for what kind of treasure it was, and how many there were, no one knew. Lin Ye's divine sense was powerful, and countless discussions reached his ears. He also heard the situation on the altar and couldn't help but be surprised. More than that, he was excited and curious. He wanted to know how talented he was and whether he could sit on a seat. The warriors on the top of the mountain didn't sit on the altar. The reason why they didn't leave was that when the altar was teleported, a treasure vault would be opened at the same time. It would be open for 3 days. Linger, go and try. Lin Yi said to Luo Ling. He knew that Luo Ling had a 9th grade spiritual pulse talent. Everyone on the altar had a 9th grade spiritual pulse talent. If others had a chance to sit up there, maybe Luo Ling would have a chance too. Okay. Luo Ling nodded obediently. Step by step, she walked toward the altar. In front of her, there were already countless new warriors who had failed and left. Rumble, rumble, Luo Ling just got close to the altar and put one foot on it. The altar suddenly exploded with a strong roar, and the spirit chi in the air rushed over. An unparalleled pressure ruthlessly pressed down on Luo Ling. Luo Ling was almost crushed to the ground by that overbearing pressure. This altar did not test one's cultivation base or strength. The higher the talent, the further one could go. Luo Ling spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was extremely pale, but she didn't want to admit defeat because Lin Yi was looking at her from not far away. She didn't want to be looked down upon by Lin Yi. He took another step forward and walked forward. Every step was incomparably difficult, as if his entire body was being pressed down by a mountain. 10 meters later, he finally arrived at the first step. Luo Ling endured the terrifying pressure. Looking at the position of the first step, her beautiful eyes flashed with determination. She stepped towards the second step. She didn't want to stop at the first step. Seeing this, countless onlookers shook their heads in envy. Linger actually reached the first stage. I wonder where brother-in-law is. Among the crowd at the top of the mountain, Luo Xinger saw Luo Linger on the altar and couldn't help but feel happy. Then she thought of Lin Yi and wondered where Lin Yi was now. Her brows furrowed and then relaxed. She walked towards the direction where Luo Linger came from. Soon, an excited smile appeared on Luo Xinger's face. This was because she saw a familiar figure in her line of sight. Seeing this figure, she hurriedly quickened her pace, afraid that this figure would disappear into the crowd. Brother-in-law, Lin Yi was watching Luo Linger on the altar. At this moment, a familiar voice sounded. The voice was crisp and sweet, like the sound of nature. Hearing this voice, Lin Ye's face lit up with joy. He looked in the direction of the voice and saw a girl in a black dress running towards him. Xinger, you're here too. How was it? Did you get anything? Looking at Luo Xing, Lin Yi smiled. Seeing that Luo Xing was alive and well, his heart that was in his throat finally calmed down. Brother-in-law, I got a lot of heaven and earth treasures. Look, I'm now at the Xiantian 7th stage. Luo Xing held Lin Ye's hand and was incomparably happy. She stood beside Lin Yi like a little bird, wearing a black dress. At this moment, she looked even more beautiful and lovely. In front of Lin Yi, she talked about her harvest. Have you tried? Lin Yi let Luo Xing'er hold his hand and pointed to the altar. At this moment, Luo Ling'er had already sat down on the seat above the fourth stage. There were only 9 seats above the fourth stage, and Luo Ling'er occupied one of them. Moreover, so far, there were only 3 people above the fourth stage. One could imagine how difficult it was to reach the fourth stage. Without a certain level of talent, it was impossible to reach the fourth stage. I've already tried. Luo Xing shook her head, and a trace of loneliness appeared on her face. She had already gone up and tried, but she was unable to ascend the altar at all, let alone sit at the top. This meant that Luo Xing'er's talent was not good enough. She and Luo Bingwe were twin sisters and looked exactly the same. However, Luo Bingwe had the emperor body of ice. Luo Xing only had the spiritual pulse physique. There was a huge difference between her and Luo Bingwe. It was as if all her talent had been taken away by Luo Bingwe when she was in her mother's womb. Can't you see that I don't have a martial spirit? You don't have a martial spirit, but you can still cultivate. Lin Yi patted Luo Xing'er's head and comforted her. Brother-in-law, go and try. Luo Xing'er looked at Lin Yi curiously. She had always been suspicious of Lin Yi's physique. It was too miraculous that he could cultivate without a martial spirit. Now, she could check out Lin Yi's talent. Only those with great talent could have the chance to sit on the altar. Try. Then I'll try. Lin Yi was stunned. He also wanted to try. He wanted to know if he could sit on the altar. Could he really cultivate without a martial spirit? With that, he handed a storage pouch to Luo Xing'er and walked toward the altar. Boom! Lin Yi came to the altar and stepped on it. As soon as he stepped on the altar, there was a roar in his mind. Then, an unparalleled pressure pressed down on him. This pressure was only aimed at him. No one else could feel it. The bloodline in his body kept on surging. Talent, bloodline, and also physique. Martial spirits could also be determined through bloodline. Everything was related to bloodline. The pressure on the altar had a mystical aura. This aura kept on tormenting his bloodline, making him feel uncomfortable. But he quickly got used to it. 1 step, 2 steps, 10 seconds, he reached the first level. With every step he took, the pressure on Lin Yi's body increased. 20 seconds later, Lin Yi reached the second level. 40 seconds later, Lin Yi reached the third level. But he had no intention of stopping. Instead, he walked toward the top of the altar step by step. As time passed, he had completely gotten used to the pressure on the altar. To be honest, the pressure here was not as domineering as the dragon might in the Rainbow Palace. With the Earth Dragon transformation and his divine telekinesis, he felt relaxed. He reached the 4th level. Luo Xing'er and Luo Ling'er were shocked when they saw Lin Yi reach the 4th level. There were thousands of martial artists from the 4 major academies on the summit of Sky Capital Peak. Those who could become martial artists from the 4 major academies were all Heaven's Pride level characters. However, it was too difficult to occupy a seat on the altar. Those who came here had tried many times, but they all failed. They knew that the pressure on the altar was terrifying and had a high requirement for talent. Seeing another person reach the 4th level, countless martial artists were shocked. What was even more unexpected was that this martial artist, who was only in the Xiantian realm, did not sit on the 4th level. Instead, he walked to an even higher level. 5th level success. 6th level success. 7th level success. At the 5th level, there were only 4 people, including Lin Yi. There was no one above the 5th level. Now, Lin Yi had rapidly crossed the 5th step and entered the 6th step. He had even reached the 7th step. This scene shocked all the martial artists present, none of them daring to believe their own eyes. In their opinion, only geniuses with king physiques could reach the 6th or 7th level. However, those who entered the secret territory were all geniuses below the king physique. Geniuses with king physiques did not need to enter this new secret territory. Therefore, the best talent here was a 9th grade spiritual heritage. 7th level. That's unbelievable. Is he a genius with a king physique? Impossible. Geniuses with king physiques would not come here. He is a martial artist from Shunwu College, at the peak of Xiantian Realm Level 8. He is a newcomer this year. We know the two geniuses with king physique from Shunwu College. It is not him. I did not expect that there would be such a genius in Shunwu College. This is really the 7th level. Look, he is not stopping at the 7th level. He is going up. Is he immune to the power of the altar? The peak of Sky Capital Peak was in an uproar. Everyone looked at Lin Yi, who was on the 7th step of the altar. The martial artists from Sky Sword Academy, Green Rock Academy, and Nanfeng Academy were jealous. Only the martial artists from Shunwu College were excited, because Lin Yi was from Shunwu College. In other words, Lin Yi could reach the 7th level. He should be a genius with a king physique. In addition to Luo Bingyue and Dongfang Qing, Paladin Academy had recruited 3 geniuses with emperor physiques this year. This was the biggest harvest in 1,000 years. Could it be that Paladin Academy's peak era had arrived? Brother-in-law is the best. Luo Xing looked at Lin Yi, who was on the 7th step, and her beautiful face revealed an excited expression. It was as if she was the one who had reached the 7th step. She was even more excited than if she had reached the 7th step herself. Young Master Lin is really amazing, Luo Ling said happily when she saw Lin Yi on the 4th level. 8th level, success. At this moment, all the martial artists on Sky Capital Peak were in an uproar. All sorts of envy and jealousy, as well as all sorts of discussions, shook the entire Sky Capital Peak. The 8th level was an unattainable existence. Although many people were jealous of Lin Yi reaching the 8th level was good for them. The higher the level, the more treasures there would be. In other words, Lin Yi had increased the level and quantity of the treasures in the treasury. If Lin Yi had not reached the 8th level, the highest level he could reach would be the 5th level. Although the treasures and quantity of the 5th level were good, they could not be compared to the 8th level. There are only 2 spots on the 8th level, high and mighty, below 1 person and above thousands. Looking down at the countless martial artists below, he felt like he was looking down at the mountain. However, Lin Yi didn't stop. Instead, he walked towards the highest step with great difficulty. The 9th step, that was the highest step, the true number 1 existence. Chapter 32. The 8th step. He has successfully reached the 8th step. His name is Lin Yi. I remember. Yes, his name is Lin Yi. He is Luo Bingyue's fiancé. Didn't they say that he doesn't have a martial soul? How can he be so heaven-defying? I believe that even if a genius with a peerless emperor body came, he might not be able to reach the 8th step, let alone the 9th step. Can he reach the 9th step? If he reaches the 9th step, all the treasures and treasures of Sky Capital Peak will appear. Countless people were discussing as they watched Lin Yi walk towards the 9th step. At this moment, more people wanted Lin Yi to reach the 9th step. This was because if Lin Yi reached the 9th step, all the treasures of Sky Capital Peak would appear. At that time, all kinds of heaven-defying treasures and treasures of Sky Capital Peak would appear. More treasures would appear. Jealousy. Of course, there was jealousy. However, more people chose to be envious than jealous. Why? That was because all of the genius martial artists present understood a single fact. Their talent simply couldn't compare with Lin Yi's. From the moment that Lin Yi stepped onto the altar, he had already left the thousands of martial artists far behind. Now, his talent was definitely number 1 here. Anyway, he was already number 1. They were not qualified to be jealous. Brother-in-law, you must succeed. Luo Xing clenched her fists and said nervously. Senior brother Lin, you must succeed. Junior brother Lin, you can do it. Junior brother Lin, you must be number 1. Senior brother Lin, you must attain the supreme Tao. Many of the martial artists of Shunwu College had already heard of Lin Yi's name. Many of them secretly cheered for Lin Yi, hoping that Lin Yi could reach the 9th step and sit on the supreme seat. There was only 1 seat on the 9th step. That seat was a symbol of supremacy, and no one could surpass it. Moreover, the higher Lin Yi's achievements were, the more heaven-defying Lin Yi's talent was. Maybe Lin Yi's talent had already surpassed Luo Bingyue, and Dongfang Qing. Mr. said that I don't have a martial spirit. My bloodline is extremely pure. Even without a martial soul, I will still stand at the peak. I, who have no talent, still want to prove my Tao and become the strongest. Lin Yi felt like he was about to be crushed into pieces. Not to mention taking a step forward, even lifting his feet was extremely difficult. The pressure in the air was like 100,000 mountains pressing down on his back. The blood in his body was boiling as if it was about to combust. The 3,000 heavenly Taos circulated as his spiritual will supported his will. 1 step 2, steps 3 steps. Every step forward would take a very long time. With every step he took, the martial artists at the peak of Celestial Capital Peak would tremble. It was as if the person who was about to reach the 9th step was not Lin Yi, but them. Countless people held their breaths, not daring to let out a breath. Their eyes were fixed on Lin Yi's thin back. But in the eyes of countless people, that thin back seemed to be able to carry 100,000 mountains. Boom! Boom! After an unknown amount of time, Lin Yi finally came close to the 9th step. As long as he took the first few steps, he would be able to sit on the one and only seat on the 9th step. However, at this time, just as Lin Yi's foot landed, there was a sudden clap of thunder in the sky. Endless spiritual chi surged, and the weather changed. All the martial artists present were shocked. They could all see that Lin Yi was only 9 steps away from the 9th step. The first step attracted the thunder and endless spiritual chi, causing the weather to change. At the 2nd step, the spiritual chi within 10,000 miles of the new secret dimension began to stir. It kept on gathering the spiritual chi from the surroundings, causing the spiritual chi in Celestial Capital Peak to be 10 times richer than other places. At the 3rd step, the horrifying spiritual chi had reached 20 times. At the 4th step, with Celestial Capital Peak as the center, the spiritual chi had reached 30 times richer. At the 5th step, within 10,000 miles of Celestial Capital Peak, the spiritual chi had reached 50 times richer. The spiritual chi was almost tangible, like a hazy fog. At this time, an electric arc descended from the void. The electric arc fell on Lin Yi, and Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood. However, Lin Yi's aura suddenly changed. He was now at the peak of Xiantian Realm Level 8. With the help of this electric arc, his cultivation had reached Level 9. This change shocked all the martial artists. Then, they were extremely envious. At the 6th step, an electric arc fell from the void. At this moment, the electric arc was purple gold. It fell on Lin Yi's body, and Lin Yi once again spat out a mouthful of blood. He almost fell from the altar. In the end, Lin Yi managed to stabilize himself and did not fall from the altar. At this moment, Lin Yi's cultivation, under the envious and shocked eyes of thousands of martial artists, broke through the Xiantian realm and stepped into the spirit-driving realm, becoming a powerhouse at the first layer of the spirit-driving realm. At the 7th step, a 3-colored electric arc descended from a void. The electric arc enveloped Lin Yi, and Lin Yi's clothes were torn into pieces, turning him into a beggar. However, they all wanted to have his experience, because at this moment, Lin Yi's cultivation had reached the 2nd layer of the spirit-driving realm. At the 8th step, Lin Yi's cultivation, without the slightest suspense, reached the 3rd layer of the spirit-driving realm. Countless martial artists had already gone crazy. Of course, they had to go crazy. It would be strange if they didn't go crazy. Every time he took a step, he would be struck by lightning. Every time he was struck by lightning, he would advance by a realm. At the 9th step, Lin Yi was very, very close. He was only 1 step away. As long as Lin Yi took a step, he would be able to sit on the supreme position of the 9th step. However, Lin Yi did not move. He looked at the 9th step with a dignified expression. The 9th step gave him a feeling. That feeling was that maybe if he sat on it, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Maybe if he sat on it, he would be reborn. This feeling was very strange, and it made him hesitate. My dream of becoming a powerhouse, the heart of a sovereign. The path of Theta Scarabii is like sailing against the current. Endless unknowns are waiting for me in front. This is just one of them. Even if I retreat now, there are still unknowns waiting for me in front. If I retreat, there will be cracks in my state of mind. Lin Yi endured the destructive pressure. Izzle was greatly challenged, but soon he reacted. In this world, the only thing he could do was to press forward. Thinking of this, he took a step forward. Boom, between heaven and earth, the space shook. Unparalleled thunder penetrated 3,000 miles. The seven-colored arc bombarded Lin Ye's body fiercely. The clothes on his body were completely torn at this moment. It could be said that his clothes could not cover his body. But at this moment, he could not care about other things. His cultivation had reached the 4th level of the spirit maneuvering realm. He sat down on the seat of a 9th step. Without the slightest hesitation, he took out a set of clothes from the 9-layer space and put it on. He was speechless. It was simply maddening. He could not wait to find a hole to drill into. Thousands of martial artists, each proud son and daughter of heaven, all saw his appearance. It made his face burn. Countless proud sons and daughters of heaven quickly covered their eyes with their hands. But the 5 fingers covering their eyes were slightly open. The 9th step, supreme. Tinu Treasure Land, open. The moment Lin Yi sat on the 9th step, a loud voice resounded through heaven and earth. It passed into the ears of all the martial artists. This voice was like the heavenly Tao. They did not know where it came from. As the voice fell, a shocking spiritual energy rushed out from the ground. In the air, a shocking spiritual energy fell down. Every strand of spiritual chi was a treasure of heaven and earth, a precious elixir, a mystical medicinal herb, or a powerful cultivation method or martial skill. At this moment, thousands of martial artists at the top of Tindu Peak went crazy. 9th level spiritual weapon. 4th level elixir. It's a 4th level elixir. Millennium blood fruit, heaven level cultivation technique. It's actually a heaven level cultivation technique. More than 1/9 level spiritual weapon. Oh my God, that's definitely a sacred weapon. A sacred weapon. 5th level elixir. Oh my God. Bursts of exclamations boiled this side of the world. Countless martial artists rushed towards the treasures that appeared in this side of the world. At this moment, the real outbreak of fighting broke out. These treasures could only be found by chance. Or, even if you have money, you can't buy them. When the geniuses on the altar saw the appearance of countless treasures, they couldn't help but leave to fight for the treasures. In just a short period of time, there were originally more than 40 people on the altar, but now there were only 6 people left. Someone discovered that at this moment, the people outside the altar could no longer enter the altar. Those geniuses who left the altar wanted to enter again, but they were also blocked outside. On the 4th step of the altar, Luo Linger looked at Lin Yi, who was at the top of the altar, with a questioning look in her eyes. This was because countless treasures had appeared on Tiandu Peak, and these treasures could only be found by chance. If one didn't go and fight for them, they would all be taken away by others. Lin Yi didn't speak. He just shook his head, indicating that Luo Linger shouldn't go out. At the same time, he looked at Luo Xinger outside the altar, indicating that Luo Xinger shouldn't go and fight for the treasures. In fact, he didn't need to say anything. Luo Xinger didn't dare to fight for the treasures. With her cultivation, she would be courting death if she went. When Lin Yi gave her the storage bag, she understood that she shouldn't participate in the fight. In the storage bag that Lin Yi gave her, it was full of 4th level talismans, most of which were defensive talismans. Time passed by minute. The treasures continued to appear, and the fight became more and more tragic. In front of powerful and magical treasures, hundreds of people would fight for them. Even a martial artist in the 7th or 8th level of the spirit realm would be besieged and killed in an instant. After half a day, a total of 4 sacred tools appeared. There were 3 heaven-level cultivation techniques and 5 heaven-level martial skills. There were countless other treasures, and each of them was a super existence in the Yunshui kingdom. Rumble on Tiandu Peak, treasures continued to appear. At this time, thunder continued to sound in the void. No one noticed that the 6 people on the altar had disappeared. They disappeared strangely, as if they had evaporated into thin air. Supreme, congratulations. Lin Yi appeared in a cloud-like palace. As soon as he appeared, he heard a faint voice. Chapter 33. With a quick glance, he had a clear view of his surroundings. He was in a palace made of clouds that was 100 meters in size. There were dozens of light shields floating in the palace. Inside the light shields, there was a powerful aura. Needless to say, there were powerful and mysterious treasures inside the light shields. Other than that, Lin Yi did not see the owner of the voice. Don't bother looking. I'm just a remnant consciousness that will dissipate along with Sky Capital Peak. There are a total of 33 treasures here. The voice seemed to have seen through Lin Yi's every move and said. The voice was always the same, without the slightest emotion. How can I obtain them? Lin Yi's thoughts had been seen through, but he didn't feel embarrassed at all. After all, this place was someone else's territory. In other words, he was the ruler here. His every move was under someone else's control. When he heard that there were 33 treasures, his heartbeat quickened. Because he had reached the 9th step and stood at the peak, the place he came to was naturally the place with the best treasures. Previously, a sacred weapon had appeared outside, so the treasures here should not be inferior to those outside. 33 treasures. Different quality and different effects. You can't see the treasures here, so you can only rely on your luck. You can choose 17 of them, and the remaining 16 will appear outside when you obtain them. After they appear, you will know what the 16 treasures are. The voice said calmly. After saying that, it seemed to be waiting for Lin Yi's answer or choice. Lin Yi could only choose 17 of the 33 treasures, which was half. Moreover, Lin Yi did not know what treasures he would choose. After he made his choice, the remaining treasures would appear before the other martial artists of Sky Capital Peak. The remaining treasures. Can this junior participate in it? Lin Yi did not choose any treasures. In fact, he did not plan to choose at all because the treasures were shrouded in light shields, and he did not know what was inside. He could only rely on his luck. If he was lucky, he would obtain a good treasure. If he was unlucky, he would obtain a bad treasure. What he cared about was whether he could participate in the fight for the treasures. If he could, with his strength, it should not be a problem to snatch one treasure. If he found something he needed, he could give it a try. Sure. The voice answered Lin Yi's question without hesitation. I choose this half. Lin Yi did a rough count and chose 17 items, which were 17 light shields. The light shields were not opened, so he did not know what treasures were inside. In his opinion, if he was unlucky, he might miss out on all the best treasures. Since that was the case, he might as well just choose one piece. The 17 pieces next to each other couldn't all be the worst, right? Walla Walla as Lin Yi's voice fell. The 17 light shields quickly disappeared. One item after another appeared in Lin Yi's line of sight. He didn't even have the time to look at the 17 treasures he had obtained. All of them were stored in the ninefold space. He would take his time to look at them in the future. Right now, he wanted to snatch the other 16 treasures as quickly as possible. Boom! Boom! The moment he took away the 17 treasures, the remaining 16 light barriers disappeared at the same time. At the same time, Lin Yi's figure appeared at the top of the altar. The 16 treasures appeared at the same time, all displayed in front of countless warriors. The world trembled completely at this moment, as if it was about to be destroyed. The appearance of the most powerful treasures, and 16 of them at once, immediately made the warriors even crazier. Countless warriors rushed toward the 16 treasures. On the altar, Lin Yi appeared. Luo Ling, and the other 4 cultivators also appeared. Their faces were filled with excitement. Needless to say, they had obtained an incredible treasure. They didn't have to compete with others to obtain a treasure. Naturally, they were excited. When they appeared, a few treasures also appeared with them. What a terrifying life aura. This is it. Lin Yi saw the nearest treasure. It had a magical life aura, and this life aura had the wood attribute. Needless to say, this was the most magical wood attribute the ultimate wood attribute. Seeing such a treasure, he happened to see Luo Xing, not far away. Luo Xing was a wood attribute, but she had a spiritual vein. If Luo Xing obtained this treasure, it might be of great help to her cultivation. Thinking of this, his figure flashed and quickly left the altar, heading toward the treasure. Rumble, rumble. In his hand, talismans appeared one after another. The talismans floated out and turned into terrifying attacks. In an instant, the attacks injured and killed countless warriors. These warriors who were fighting for the treasures were extremely horrified. Their figures flashed and quickly retreated. Although the treasures were good, their lives were more important. Taking advantage of the countless warriors retreating, Lin Ye's figure flashed and appeared in front of the life aura. The life aura was a crystal the size of an egg. The green light symbolized the revival of all things. Lin Yi did not hesitate and reached out to grab the green crystal. The moment he grabbed the green crystal, he felt the threat of death. A wave of attacks came toward him. Absolute defense. Earth Dragon transformation. Lin Yi roared and used the first transformation of the Divine Dragon 9 transformations. At the same time, he activated his absolute defense, hoping that his powerful physique and absolute defense could block the attacks of countless warriors. As long as he dodged this attack, he would be able to retreat. Poochie. Countless warriors attacked with all their strength, crushing Lin Ye's absolute defense. Immediately, the Taiji diagram trembled and shattered. The attacks landed on Lin Ye's body. Lin Yi spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying 100 meters. Absolute defense. That was the absolute defense of the same level. He had the spirit movement mirror. Any expert within the spirit movement mirror could not shake his absolute defense. However, his absolute defense could not block the full strength attacks of countless spirit movement mirrors. Fortunately, he had offset 50% of the attacks. In the end, the powerful physique and defense of the Earth Dragon transformation saved him from death. Borrowing the force of the flying, he quickly retreated and ran into the distance. Don't let them surround Junior Brother Lin. Stop them and let Junior Brother Lin leave. Kill. The warriors of Shengwu College were horrified when they saw countless people attacking Lin Yi. They thought that Lin Yi was going to vanish. However, when they saw that Lin Yi was still alive, they were shocked. At this moment, they all knew that Lin Yi was powerful and heaven-defying. Knowing that Lin Yi had obtained a super treasure, the others would definitely not let Lin Yi go. Even the warriors of Shengwu College participated in the fight for the treasure with Lin Yi. Noticing this situation, some of the warriors of Shengwu College reacted and shouted loudly. The warriors of Shengwu College received the warning and immediately burst out with powerful attacks to help Lin Yi escape. They blocked the experts of the other 3 colleges who were chasing after Lin Yi and reduced the pressure on Lin Yi. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lin Yi did not dare to stay any longer. He used his body movement to the extreme and ran down the sky capital peak. He did not dare to stay any longer. Staying here was simply courting death, because they all knew that Lin Yi also had a treasure. It was intolerable to not kill and rob in the secret territory. Naturally, they would not let Lin Yi go. Luo Ling and Luo Xing also quickly ran down the sky capital peak. Rumble, rumble, as Lin Yi ran, the talisman patterns floated out. At this moment, he threw out the talisman like it was a piece of scrap paper. The talisman was precious, but his life was more important. Compared to the treasure he had obtained this time, a few talismans were nothing. The terrifying attacks of the talismans killed countless experts who were chasing after Lin Yi. In a moment, Lin Yi used up all the 4th-rank talismans on him. He also left the sky capital peak and was running into the distance. Luo Ling, and Luo Xing followed closely behind Lin Yi. In their hands, talismans constantly floated out. The terrifying attacks and defenses caused countless warriors to go berserk. The closer they got, the fewer people who were chasing after Lin Yi. Gradually, they all knew that the situation was hopeless. It was basically impossible to get the treasure from Lin Yi. Moreover, if they were remembered by Lin Yi, it would be troublesome. After 15 minutes, there were no more warriors behind Lin Yi. To countless warriors, they would rather give up on Lin Yi and fight with other experts. The other experts might be stronger than Lin Yi, but they were definitely not as difficult to deal with as Lin Yi. It was only because Lin Yi had too many talisman patterns on him that he threw them out as if they were free. Xinger, take it, refine it. Lin Yi was incomparably weak and his face was pale. He handed the green crystal to Luo Xing, and said, "Brother-in-law." Luo Xing, looked at the green crystal in Lin Yi's hand and couldn't help but shed sparkling tears. She naturally knew that this green crystal was of the wood attribute. It was even more magical than the wood attribute. She also knew that Lin Yi didn't care about his own safety to snatch this green crystal for her. If it wasn't for her, with Lin Yi's cultivation and strength, he could have chosen other treasures. It could even be said that Lin Yi didn't need to snatch the treasure at all. Hurry up and refine it, lest the effect wears off. Lin Yi said seriously. After this green crystal left the light shield and appeared in the world, its power would slowly wear off if it stayed outside for too long. After all, this green crystal couldn't be compared to other spiritual treasures. Thank you, brother-in-law. Luo Xing, who took the green crystal and revealed a sweet smile on her beautiful tear-stained face. It made one's heart ache for her. Leave this place as far as possible. Lin Yi's body shook and he almost fell. He spat out another mouthful of blood, his face pale and powerless. If it wasn't for the absolute defense and Earth Dragon transformation, not to mention the Spirit Driving Realm, even a Heaven Dipper realm expert who had surpassed the Spirit Driving Realm would have been killed. Now that he survived, he also suffered heavy injuries. He had to find a safe place to recuperate and recover from his injuries. However, this place was too close to Sky Capital Peak, and there were too many experts. If other experts saw him, they would definitely kill him to snatch the treasure. Ling, you lead the way and bring up the rear. I'll carry brother-in-law. It's faster this way. Luo Xing supported Lin Yi, her face full of worry. After thinking for a moment, he opened his mouth and said to Luo Ling, she could see that with Lin Yi's current situation, it was simply a dream to run quickly. The only way was to carry Lin Yi and leave this place as quickly as possible. Okay, I'll replace you when the time comes. Luo Ling nodded. Both of them were 16-year-old girls, not even 17 years old. Although they were strong and could run for a short period of time, they definitely wouldn't be able to hold on for a long time, so the two of them had to replace each other. Luo Xing, bent down, carried Lin Yi on her back, and ran quickly. Chapter 34. The news of Sky Capital Peak had spread to almost all the martial artists in the Mystic Realm. When they found out that countless heaven-defying treasures had appeared in the Sky Capital Peak, they were shocked beyond words. However, most of them were envious. On Sky Capital Peak, the day when the treasures appeared was the most powerful. There were saint artifacts and heaven-class cultivation techniques. On the second day, there were also saint artifacts and heaven-class cultivation techniques, but there were not as many as the first day. On the third day, a saint artifact appeared. Other than that, the rest were ordinary treasures. After 3 days, Sky Capital Peak disappeared. It disappeared into thin air, leaving behind a 100-meter-tall stone tablet with the word Sky Capital Peak engraved on it. According to statistics, Sky Capital Peak had a total of more than 300 level 9 spirit artifacts and 11 saint artifacts. A total of 16 heaven-class cultivation techniques and heaven-class martial skills had appeared. There were also some level 5 spirit dawn and millennium spirit herbs. Other treasures and heaven and earth treasures were innumerable. Out of the thousands of martial artists, half of them had died. Those who survived had basically gained a lot. In the Mystic Realm, the most popular words were Saint Artifacts, Heaven-class cultivation techniques, Level 5 Spirit Dawn, and Lin Yi. This time, Lin Ye's name was known by almost everyone. He was a level 9 character. Because of him, all the treasures of Sky Capital Peak had appeared, allowing the martial artists of the 4 academies to obtain saint artifacts and heaven-class cultivation techniques. Some people said that Lin Yi was definitely a genius with a king physique, or even a peerless king physique. Some people said that Lin Yi had obtained several treasures that were on the same level as saint artifacts. This was because the few people left on the altar all had a saint weapon in their hands. In that case, the Supreme Ninth Step would definitely obtain more and better treasures. The main character of countless people's discussions was currently cultivating and healing. 3,000 miles away from Sky Capital Peak, Lin Yi was sitting cross-legged in a cave in a mountain range, swallowing a restoration pill to heal. This was the first time he had been injured, and it was so serious. In other words, this time he had almost lost his life. The cave was dozens of meters wide. Inside the cave, Luo Xing was refining the green crystal, while Luo Ling was cultivating on the side. At the same time, they were paying attention to the movements outside to prevent demon beasts and human warriors from discovering this place. However, the entrance to the cave was very small and hidden. It was impossible for anyone to discover it. Time passed day by day. It took half a month for Lin Ye's injuries to stabilize. However, it would take at least 2 to 3 months to fully recover. However, it wouldn't affect his cultivation now. As long as he didn't fight, it wouldn't affect his injuries. After refining a restore pill, his injuries recovered a little. Opening his eyes, Lin Yi stared blankly at Luo Xing and Luo Ling, who were refining the green crystals. If he was alone, he could enter the 9-fold space to cultivate, which would save him a lot of time. However, it was obviously impossible now. This cave was so small. If he entered the 9-fold space, he would have to disappear from their sight. In this way, he would expose the secret of the space treasure he had on him. Of course, it wasn't that he didn't trust Luo Xing and Luo Ling. It was better to be safe than sorry. If other people found out, it would cause unnecessary trouble. Now, he could only give up on entering the 9-fold space and cultivate outside to heal his injuries. Boom! Just as Lin Yi was deep in thought, a terrifying life aura erupted from the cave. Lin Yi and Luo Ling looked at Luo Xing at the same time. They saw that Luo Xing was currently surrounded by green color. An unparalleled life aura emanated from Luo Xing's body. Her entire person was beautiful, otherworldly, and extremely agile. At this moment, Luo Xing was like a spirit of life, a body of life. Lin Yi looked at Luo Xing and couldn't help but exclaim. He had read about the body of life in ancient books. In ancient books, the body of life could be said to be a legendary existence. It symbolized life, incarnated life, and possessed unparalleled life force. The body of life wasn't an emperor body, but a sacred body. It was even more heaven-defying. Body of life? Luo Ling didn't know about the body of life. She couldn't help but look at Lin Yi curiously. The body of life has powerful life force. It even has the ability to heal itself. More importantly, it can help others heal their injuries. Legend has it that when the body of life is cultivated to a certain level, it can bring people back to life. Don't let others know about Xing body of life to avoid trouble. Lin Yi spoke slowly. In the end, he reminded Luo Ling that only the 3 of them knew that Luo Xing had a body of life. This matter couldn't be known to others. Even if he had snatched the green crystal, no one would have dared to believe that the green crystal, which had powerful life force, could create a sacred body. A sacred body had never appeared in the history of the Yunshui kingdom. Understood. Luo Ling was extremely envious. Although her talent wasn't an emperor body, she was still a genius with a 9th-grade spiritual pulse. She was also one of the top geniuses. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to reach the 4th step of the altar. Now, she didn't expect that Lin Yi would help Luo Xing become a body of life. However, she calmed down quickly. Everyone's luck and opportunities were different. This was something that couldn't be envied. Perhaps in the future, she would also have the opportunity to become an emperor body or even more heaven-defying. Moreover, this time, she had been transported to the treasury and obtained 3 good treasures that were enough for her to use for the rest of her life. While the two of them were talking, Luo Xing, Er's life force became stronger and stronger. A green grassland appeared around her with flowers and plants. In the beginning, Luo Xing, was still unable to control her sacred body and her life force leaked out. Gradually, she began to control her sacred body and retracted her life force. After 2 hours, Luo Xing, finished cultivating and walked toward Linyi. At this moment, she was like an otherworldly beauty. She was already beautiful, but now she was even more otherworldly. She was even more beautiful than Luo Bingwe. She was the darling of heaven and earth, the embodiment of life. Each and every one of his movements was filled with boundless vitality and vitality. Brother-in-law, I did it. Luo Xing was as excited as a child. She held Linyi's hand and stood beside Linyi. She looked up at Linyi. She knew that her brother-in-law had fought so hard for her. Work hard. In the future, you will definitely stand at the peak of martial arts. Remember, don't use your talents so easily. Linyi reached out and stroked Luo Xing's hair with a smile. When he first snatched the green crystal, he only knew that its life force was strong and that it was a good treasure. However, he didn't expect that the green crystal would turn Luo Xing into a sacred body. Xing will not let you down. Brother-in-law, how are your injuries? Luo Xing clenched her fists and made a gesture of encouragement. She nodded seriously. Thinking of Lin Ye's injuries, she couldn't help but worry. My injuries have stabilized. It won't affect my cultivation. I will fully recover after 2 months of recuperation. Lin Yi smiled. At this time, he was in high spirits and didn't look injured at all. Now that his injuries were stable, as long as he didn't fight, it wouldn't affect his cultivation. He could take advantage of this time to cultivate the 3,000 heavenly Tao and comprehend the heavenly phoenix divine seal. Fortune lurks in misfortune, and misfortune is a blessing in disguise. Although he was injured, it was not necessarily a bad thing. Brother-in-law, are we still going out to train? Luo Xing was relieved to hear Lin Ye's words. As long as it didn't affect her cultivation, it wouldn't be a problem. If it affected her cultivation because of snatching the green crystal and left behind sequelae, she would feel guilty for the rest of her life. We will leave the secret realm in 2 months. We have gained a lot during this time. This place is not far from Sky Capital Peak. The spiritual chi here is 30 times richer than other places. Let's take advantage of this spiritual chi and cultivate here for a while to improve our cultivation. You guys cultivate here first. I will go out to deal with some things. Lin Yi replied. He had already gained a lot. Even if he went out to adventure and found some treasures, they couldn't be compared to what he had gained now. Moreover, he was injured and couldn't act rashly. More importantly, he needed to go out to absorb spiritual chi. After the second seal of a ninefold space was broken, it could devour and absorb spiritual chi. The absorbed spiritual chi made the ninefold space rich in spiritual chi, and cultivation inside would be faster. The spiritual chi of Sky Capital Peak was 30 to 40 times richer than other places. It was definitely a rare thing. If he missed the spiritual chi here, it would be extremely difficult to find such rich spiritual chi again. Well, be careful, brother-in-law. We will wait for you here. Luo Xing nodded obediently. Luo Ling also nodded. They wanted to follow Lin Yi, but Lin Yi obviously went out to deal with some things, and it wasn't convenient for him to bring them along. Naturally, they wouldn't say it out loud. Lin Yi didn't stay and left the cave. He executed cool breeze shadow movement technique and quickly fled into the distance. Lin Yi didn't stop until he was hundreds of miles away. The ninefold space opened and madly devoured the surrounding spiritual chi. The spiritual chi quickly rushed toward the ninefold space. The ninefold space was like a bottomless black hole, devouring everything. In one day, Lin Yi went to 7 or 8 places. In each place, the spiritual qi was extremely thin and the space trembled, attracting the attention of many martial artists. However, they didn't find Lin Yi and didn't know what was going on. In the end, it was concluded that the spiritual qi of Sky Capital Peak was disappearing automatically, just like the spiritual qi of Sky Capital Peak had skyrocketed in the beginning. One day later, Lin Yi returned to the cave. He began to cultivate with Luo Ling and Luo Xing More importantly, he wanted to check the treasures he had obtained in the secret realm this time. He was looking forward to the 17 treasures the most. He didn't know what they were. He didn't check the 17 treasures in the ninefold space because he was recuperating. Now, he could check them properly. Chapter 35. Blood Soul Fruit, 300 years old, 19 pieces. Primordial Spirit Fruit, 100 years old, 13 pieces. Big Dipper Flower, 200 years old, for flowers. Level 9 Spirit Artifact, for pieces. A moment later, Lin Yi counted all the heavenly treasures and earthly treasures. These treasures could all be used by him and could greatly increase his strength. In fact, he did not obtain much in the mystic realm. However, each of them was incomparably precious. The main reason was that he had spent too much time in the ancient city and the divine dragon palace. He did not obtain much, but it was very, very big. Any one of them was enough to change a cultivator's life. The divine dragon 9 transformations, the heavenly phoenix, divine seal, and the incomplete runes that led to the divine dragon palace. These were opportunities that could only be encountered by chance. The fortune obtained from the altar was far from as simple as treasures. He had received the baptism of 9 thunderbolts, causing his body to become even stronger. His dantian was 9 times larger than before, and the true essence in his dantian was 7-colored. No one knew about this at all. They only knew that he had broken through after receiving the baptism of the lightning arc, breaking through a realm with every step he took. The 17 treasures were what he was most curious about and looking forward to. He hoped that his luck was not too bad and that there would be 1 or 2 that were suitable for him. In the ninefold space, the 17 treasures were sealed by 17 restrictions. However, he could tell that the seals were very simple. He only needed to use a little divine sense or true essence to unlock them. The existence of the seals was to prevent the treasure's spirituality and aura from dissipating. Hiss! Lin Yi gently tapped one of the restrictions with his finger. Immediately, the restriction disappeared. The item inside appeared in Lin Yi's line of sight. It was a pill cauldron. It was only the size of a palm and emitted an ancient aura. It also emitted waves of pill fragrance. The pill cauldron kept spinning in front of Lin Yi. Sacred level. After sizing up the pill cauldron for a while, Lin Yi said, this was a sacred level pill cauldron, but he could not use it. At least for the time being, he could not use it because he was not good at alchemy and had no plans to do so. At least for now, he would not refine pills. Even if he wanted to refine pills, it would be a matter for the future. After saying that, he placed the pill cauldron to the side with a thought. Next, he opened the second restriction. After the second restriction was opened, the items inside appeared before Lin Yi's eyes. An egg. When Lin Yi saw the items inside the second restriction, he couldn't help but be startled. One of the most precious treasures in Sky Capital Peak was actually an egg. Was this a joke? Or perhaps his luck was too bad and he obtained a treasure that wasn't a treasure. However, he quickly came to his senses. The treasures in Sky Capital Peak were definitely not simple. For this egg to be classified as a super treasure, it was definitely not simple either. It was just that he could not tell what kind of egg it was. Was it an egg or a young egg? Lin Yi didn't know. He looked at the egg, which was the size of a bowl and emitted traces of fiery aura. After looking at it for a while, he put the egg aside. Next, Lin Yi opened the restrictions one by one. One treasure after another appeared in front of him. There were some that he liked, some that were suitable for him, some that weren't suitable for him, some that he couldn't see through, and some that he didn't regard as treasures. An hour later, he looked through all 17 treasures, 5 holy weapons, 2 cultivation methods, 3 martial arts techniques, 3 sacred elixirs, an egg, a feather robe, a jade slip, a broadsword and tent seed. Linyi looked through the 17 treasures one by one. He placed the treasures that were suitable for him on one side and the ones that weren't suitable for him on the other side. However, it was undeniable that these 17 treasures were definitely super treasures. Any one of them could shake the Yinshui kingdom. He didn't need the cultivation methods anymore, because the 2 cultivation methods didn't suit him. He could cultivate all 3 martial arts techniques, and they were all sacred level martial arts techniques. The feather robe had a terrifying defense. When worn, it could block 70% of the attacks. As for the jade slip, he still didn't know what was inside. He couldn't bear to use the 3 Saint Great elixirs for the time being, nor did he dare to use them. With his cultivation base and strength, using Saint Great elixirs would cause him to die instantly. As for the egg, he didn't know what to do with it for the time being. The broadsword and tent seed excited him. With the broadsword and tent seed, he could control the broadsword and tent. By then, it would be easier to cultivate the 2nd level of the tenfold destruction blade. With the broadsword and tent, he could greatly increase the power of the blade radiance. Among the 5 holy weapons, only the longsword was suitable for him. After making his choice, he started to refine or deal with it. He would deal with the rest later. Sky-destroying finger. Destroy everything with a finger. Celestial Emperor Fist. Invincible Fist Radiance. Sky-freezing Aurora. Everything in its path is annihilated. The 3 sacred level martial arts techniques made Lin Ye's heart tremble. Each sacred level martial arts technique was divided into 7 levels. The power of each level was vastly different. As one's cultivation improved, the power they could unleash would be more terrifying and domineering. After calming down, Lin Yi exited the ninefold space. Ling got a holy weapon from the treasury of Sky Capital Peak, and a powerful cultivation method and martial arts technique. Brother-in-law, what about you? What did you get? Luo Xing. O's voice reached Lin Ye's ears. She looked at Lin Yi curiously. She knew from Luo Ling, that Luo Ling, got 3 treasures. The best one was a holy weapon. The cultivation method and martial arts technique were both heaven-level martial arts techniques. After all, Luo Ling had only reached the 4th level of the altar. Beside him, Luo Linger also looked at Lin Yi with curiosity in her eyes. 3 martial arts techniques and 2 cultivation methods. 3 holy weapons and 3 sacred level spiritual herbs. And a young egg. When I entered the treasury, I was only allowed to choose these few treasures. After I finished choosing, the rest would come out. Ling's treasury should be the same. Lin Yi said. He left out a few treasures, but it didn't matter even if he did. Everyone knew that he had many treasures. Moreover, he didn't say what the treasures were. The 9th level is really different. Compared to the other treasures, it's countless times better. When I entered the treasury, I was only allowed to choose 3 treasures. When the rest came out, they were snatched by other warriors. Moreover, I don't know what those treasures are. Luo Ling nodded. When she entered the treasury, the situation was the same as Lin Ye's. It's just that the quality and quantity of the treasures she obtained couldn't be compared to Lin Ye's. Brother-in-law, these 3 Biluo fruits are for you. You're in the spirit movement realm. It's just right for you to use the Biluo fruits. Luo Xing was shocked for a moment. She took out 3 fruits from her storage pouch and handed them to Lin Yi. These are called Biluo fruits. Just like the innate spirit fruit, they could directly raise a warrior's realm. The restriction was that a person could only use 3. More than 3 would be ineffective. Of these 3 martial arts techniques, one is suitable for you. If you have time, try to understand it and see if you can succeed in cultivating it. Lin Yi didn't hold back and took the Biluo fruits. Right now, what he needed was cultivation strength. With the Biluo fruits, he could raise his cultivation by 3 levels and reach the 7th level of the spirit movement realm. This way, the time he could stay in the spirit movement realm would be much shorter. He could use more time to cultivate the 3,000 heavenly paths and other martial arts techniques. Let's go back and cultivate. Anyway, there's plenty of time. Luo Xing said with a smile. A person's energy and time were limited. To be able to master one or two powerful martial arts techniques was already amazing. To cultivate more martial arts techniques, there was simply no time to waste. Moreover, cultivating in the secret realm was never safe. It would only be safe to return to a human city. Okay, the harvest this time was great. Let's not waste resources and opportunities. Lin Yi nodded and listened to Luo Xing. Luo Ling also agreed. Next, Lin Yi and the other two cultivated seriously in the cave, not letting go of any time to cultivate. Lin Yi was injured, so naturally, he couldn't cultivate martial arts techniques. He could only cultivate the Luo water scripture and the 3,000 heavenly paths, as well as comprehend the divine Dragon 9 transformations and the heavenly phoenix divine seal. There was also the celestial emperor fist, exterminating sky finger, and cold sky aurora. Cultivating so many martial arts techniques required a terrifying amount of time. With someone by his side, he couldn't enter the ninefold space and could only cultivate outside. Beside a lake far away from Cloudwater City, the experts of the 4 major academies were waiting here, waiting for their own disciples to return from the secret realm. At that time, they would be able to escort these disciples safely back to the academy. New secret realm, new challenges, new opportunities. At the same time, it was accompanied by unknown dangers and death. Half a year's time is almost up. I wonder how many people will return. A super expert from the Azure Rock Academy said. He looked at the lake, which was the entrance to the secret realm. Everything in the new secret realm is unknown. If we could get a heaven-class martial arts technique, the overall strength of the academy will increase. The super expert from the Southern Wind Academy looked forward to it. However, this kind of thing couldn't be taken seriously or expected. Heaven-class martial arts techniques were something that could only be found by chance. Even if there was one in the secret realm, it wasn't something that ordinary people could get. This secret realm opens once a year. Go in a few more times, and you'll be familiar with it. The expert from the Sky Sword Academy said with a smile. This secret realm was just discovered and didn't belong to any of the 4 major academies. It was shared by the 4 major academies. Other than the 4 major academies, even the disciples of the royal family weren't qualified to enter. Huangfu Jinglei of the Moon Kingdom is coming. This guy is indeed a monster. The super expert from Paladin Academy said with a solemn expression, as well as a hint of unwillingness. The super geniuses of the Moon Kingdom had all stepped on the geniuses of the Yinshui Kingdom to reach the peak. Every once in a while, the super geniuses of the Moon Kingdom would come to challenge and humiliate the martial artists from the 4 major academies. Every time, the martial artists from the 4 major academies would end in failure. Huangfu Jinglei of the Moon Kingdom could be said to be the most monstrous genius in the Moon Kingdom in the past 1,000 years. Level 9 of the Spiritual Maneuver Realm. He is invincible in the Spiritual Maneuver Realm. Even some normal Heaven Star border warriors are no match for him. I heard that the Moon Kingdom's army at the border is increasing, causing the people of the Yinshui Kingdom to feel uneasy. This can't go on. The expert from the Azure Rock Academy side. Whether it was the Moon Kingdom's national strength or Huangfu Jinglei's strength and talents, they were not something that the Yinshui Kingdom could compare with. In the past few years, the Moon Kingdom's army had been gathering at the border, and a war could break out at any moment. Boom! Just as the experts from the 4 major academies were discussing Huangfu Jinglei, there was a shocking explosion in the sky above the lake. The color of the sky changed, and the originally clear sky turned dark. In the void, a crack that was hundreds of miles long was torn open. Endless light shone from the crack. Chapter 36. The changes between heaven and earth made the powerhouses of the 4 academies excited. Because today was the opening day of the secret territory, the students in the secret territory would leave today. Originally, they thought that the opening time of the new secret territory was not fixed. Now, it seemed that it was not wrong at all. It would open on time. Suddenly, all the powerhouses looked at the lake and the sky. Endless brilliance sprinkled on the lake. In the void, black dots scattered towards the lake. The black dots fell at an extremely fast speed. Soon, the black dots turned into martial artists. Plop, plop, countless martial artists appeared from the brilliance, like dumplings being dropped. One by one, they fell into the lake with a plop. Some of the spirit, maneuvering realm powerhouses reacted quickly. Their feet touched the surface of the water, and with the help of the lake, they flew towards the shore. They did not fall into the lake and become a drowned rat. When the secret territory opened, as long as the martial artists did not fall, they would be teleported out by the weapon spirit. After the martial artists of the 4 academies came out, they quickly went to the side of the powerhouses of their respective academies. Lin Yi, Luo Xing and Luo Ling were also teleported out. However, this time, the 3 of them were not separated. The 2 girls pulled Lin Yi on both sides. When they landed on the lake, the 3 of them revealed their identities at the same time and walked on the lake surface. Senior Brother Lin. Senior Brother Lin. When the martial artists of Shengwu College saw Lin Yi appear, many of them greeted Lin Yi. Their faces were full of respect. Even some of the martial artists with higher cultivation than Lin Yi and Lin Yi also called him Senior Brother Lin. This situation made countless martial artists of Shengwu College puzzled and curious. After all, only a few people knew about the grand event of Sky Capital Peak. Most of the people who knew Lin Yi were at Sky Capital Peak and witnessed Lin Yi reaching the 9th step with their own eyes. Time passed by minute. Those who were still alive in the mystic realm had already come out. Those who hadn't come out meant that they had either died in the mystic realm, been killed by their own kind, or had become food for demonic beasts. On Shengwu College's side, more than 3,000 martial artists had appeared, and more than half of them had died. More than 2,000 people from the Green Rock Academy came out, but the number of dead was twice the number of survivors. The Sky Sword Academy had sent out 4,000 people, but half of them had perished. More than 3,000 people came out from Nanfeng Academy. The number of dead people was about the same as the number of survivors. In just one trial, more than half of the martial artists had died in the mystery realm. The death rate was shocking. This new mystery realm was rated as a middle-grade mystery realm. Many of the martial artists from the 4 great academies were discussing in low voices. As they discussed, they would occasionally glance at Lin Yi. Lin Yi also felt many gazes on him, but he responded with a smile, not caring at all. Let's go back to the academy. The super powerhouse of Shengwu College announced. Then, he led the martial artists from Shengwu College away from the lake and ran towards the distance. The martial artists from the other 3 academies also left one after another. When they came, they used the transmission array to directly teleport them to the entrance of the mystery realm. When they returned, there was no transmission array, so they could only rely on themselves to run back. Escorting the martial artists from Shengwu College were several super powerhouses from Shengwu College. According to them, the entrance of the mystery realm was thousands of miles away from Yinshui City. It would take 5 days for a Xiantian martial artist to run at full speed. A spirit maneuvering realm expert would need 2 days. At the same time, the martial artists from Shengwu College also received the news that the number 1 genius of the Moon Kingdom had come to challenge the 4 great academies. Huangfu Jinglei was at the 9th level of the spirit maneuvering realm. He had a peerless emperor physique and was invincible in the same realm. With his strength, even an ordinary Heaven Dipper realm expert might not be his opponent. Huangfu Jinglei, peerless emperor physique, the crown prince of the Moon Kingdom. The 9th level of the spirit maneuvering realm. He is invincible in the spirit maneuvering realm. Among the emperor physiques, the supreme existence. Sai, the martial artist of the Yinshui Kingdom, could never escape the trampling of the Moon Kingdom. For countless years, it was the Moon Kingdom that suppressed the Yinshui Kingdom. Even the Yinshui Kingdom's geniuses were suppressed. Some people said that Huangfu Jinglei wanted to bring Luo Bingyue and Su Ningyin back to be his concubines. At that time, the Moon Kingdom's royal family would have two more geniuses with emperor physique. With the resources of the Moon Kingdom, it would be easy for them to become superpowerhouses. Countless discussions spread among the martial artists of Shengwu College. Everyone was hurrying along while discussing Huangfu Jinglei's matter to pass the time. Lin Yi did not participate in the discussion. He was with Luo Linger and Luo Xinger as they rushed towards Shengwu College. Regarding Huangfu Jinglei's matter, Lin Yi could only smile in response. So what if Huangfu Jinglei was heaven defying? It was none of Lin Ye's business anyway. Besides, Huangfu Jinglei was not here to challenge Lin Yi. Moreover, even if Huangfu Jinglei wanted to challenge Lin Yi might not agree. Brother-in-law, do you have the confidence to fight Huangfu Jinglei? He is in the spirit-driving realm and can challenge anyone in the spirit-driving realm. He will definitely challenge my sister. When we left, my sister had just reached the first stage of the spirit-driving realm. She should be at the fourth stage of the spirit-driving realm now. She is not Huangfu Jinglei's opponent at all. Luo Xinger asked Lin Yi while they were running. She did not know what kind of talent Lin Yi had, but Lin Yi was able to reach the 9th step of the altar in the secret territory. His talent was definitely heaven-defying. If he met a genius like Huangfu Jinglei, she did not know if Lin Yi would be able to fight against Huangfu Jinglei. The most important reason was her sister. If Huangfu Jinglei wanted to take away Luo Bingyue, she believed that not many people would be able to stop him. After all, Huangfu Jinglei had the entire Moon Kingdom behind him. The Yunshui Kingdom could not do anything to the Moon Kingdom, and the Luo family did not have the ability to do so. This is the first time I've heard of Huangfu Jinglei. He has a kingdom behind him. His motives are hard to fathom. Maybe he is here to suppress the geniuses of the Yunshui Kingdom. Lin Yi pondered for a moment. This was also the first time he had heard of Huangfu Jinglei. He was an extraordinary genius. He was definitely invincible among his peers. Moreover, he was the crown prince of the Moon Kingdom. He had a powerful background. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not want to offend such a super genius. Brother-in-law, if Huangfu Jinglei really challenges my sister, then he will take my sister to the Moon Kingdom. Do you agree? Luo Xing couldn't tell from Lin Ye's words whether he was going to attack or not. She couldn't help but worry that her brother-in-law and sister would really break up. This matter mainly depends on your sister. Don't you know that your sister and I have already broken the agreement? Don't mess things up between us. Lin Yi naturally knew Luo Xinger's plan. However, he had already broken the agreement with Luo Bingyue. There was no marriage agreement between them. Luo Bingyue was free. Her actions had nothing to do with Lin Yi. Moreover, even if Huangfu Jinglei challenged Luo Bingyue and pursued Luo Bingyue, it was between them. When he spoke, his tone was calm, but there was no room for negotiation. Humph! Luo Xinger was stunned. Then she snorted. Her little face was full of dissatisfaction. Her delicate body flashed, and she ignored Lin Yi. She sped up and flew forward. Seeing this, Lin Yi just shook his head slightly and smiled. 5 days later, the martial artists of Shengwu College finally returned to Shengwu College. Lin Yi also returned to the Dark Ice Palace. Luo Xinger went back before Lin Yi and ignored Lin Yi. When he returned to the Yunshui Kingdom, Lin Yi heard that Huangfu Jinglei had come to the Yunshui Kingdom. Moreover, the army of the Yunshui Kingdom had gathered 3 million soldiers at the border of the Yunshui Kingdom. The name Huangfu Jinglei was like a mountain that pressed down on the heads of countless elites of the Yunshui Kingdom. Celestial Large Fist, a saint-level superpower. It is indeed difficult to cultivate. In the pavilion of the Dark Ice Palace, Lin Yi announced that he would cultivate in seclusion to improve his cultivation. The outside world had nothing to do with him. It could be said that he did not care about the outside world. Who cared about Huangfu Jinglei or the Moon Kingdom? It had nothing to do with him. Now, what he needed most was to improve his cultivation level and strength. Inside the building, Lin Yi used a level 3 spirit talisman. This spirit talisman was called a restriction talisman. It didn't have any attack or defense because it was a support spirit talisman. After it was used, it formed a formation that isolated the outside world. People outside couldn't enter, and they couldn't see what was happening inside. After finishing all the preparations, Lin Yi could enter the ninefold space to cultivate. He had obtained several incredible martial arts techniques and divine weapons. However, it would take a long time to cultivate and master these martial arts techniques and divine weapons. Without luck, one person would not be able to master and cultivate so many martial arts techniques and divine weapons. The ninefold space was undoubtedly Lin Yi's biggest trump card. The ratio was 4:1. He cultivated in the ninefold space for 4 days, and only 1 day passed in the outside world. He had 4 times the time of others, and he could use it to cultivate and comprehend. Of course, although the ratio was 4:1, and the spiritual energy in the ninefold space was dozens of times more than outside, he would not use the time recklessly. Instead, he had a good arrangement. 1/4 of the time was to cultivate the 3,000 heavenly Tao, refine the blood-soul fruit, and improve his divine sense. 1/4 of the time was to cultivate the Luo Water Sutra, refine the Biluo fruit, and improve his martial arts realm. 1/4 of the time was to comprehend and cultivate the Divine Dragon 9 transformations and the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Seal. 1/4 of the time was to comprehend and cultivate the Heavenly Emperor Fist, the Heavenly Frost Aurora, and the Heavenly Exterminating Finger. The first 3 were not difficult. The most difficult part was to comprehend and cultivate the Heavenly Emperor Fist, the Heavenly Frost Aurora, and the Heavenly Exterminating Finger, because these 3 martial arts techniques were saint-level existences. Saint-level martial arts techniques. After the first month, Lin Yi had used up all the blood-soul fruits on him, and his divine sense had reached level 30. Level 30 divine sense was countless times stronger than level 25 divine sense. More importantly, after reaching level 30 divine sense, he had opened the 3rd seal of the ninefold space. After the 3rd seal was unlocked, the time ratio of the ninefold space had reached 8:1. At the same time, he had obtained a heaven-defying talent, Wings of Space. Although he needed to cultivate and could not use it now, he had indeed obtained it. As long as there was enough time, there was hope for him to cultivate it. With an 8:1 time ratio, he had even more time to cultivate. In the 2nd month, Lin Yi's cultivation had reached the 8th level of the spirit manipulation realm, and all 3 Biluo fruit had been used up. In the 3rd month, the Divine Dragon 9 transformations had reached the peak of the 1st transformation. In the 4th month, the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Seal had been successfully cultivated. In the 5th month, Lin Yi had successfully cultivated the 1st layer of the Heavenly Emperor Fist. In the 7th month, Lin Yi had comprehended the Heavenly Frost Aurora. In the 9th month, Lin Yi had successfully cultivated the 1st layer of the Heavenly Frost Aurora. In the 15th month, Lin Yi had failed to comprehend the Heavenly Exterminating Finger, so he left the ninefold space and stopped cultivating. In these 15 months, he had been constantly cultivating, comprehending, and practicing, making his nerves tense. 15 months in the ninefold space was less than 3 months in the outside world. Chapter 37. On this day, Lin Yi came out of seclusion and walked out of the pavilion. After leaving the pavilion, he scanned with his divine sense. The entire mystic ice palace was covered by his divine sense. Rank 30 divine sense. With a sweep of his divine sense, everything within a radius of 10,000 meters was under his control. This was the magical and heaven-defying power of divine sense. With him as the center, nothing within a radius of 10,000 meters could escape his gaze. None of them are here. Lin Yi retracted his divine sense. His face showed a trace of confusion. There was not a single person in the mystic ice palace. If it was Luo Xing, and Luo Ling he could say that they went out to play. However, Luo Bingyue, who had been in seclusion, was also not in the Mystic Ice Palace. This was what puzzled him the most. Generally speaking, Luo Bingyue would not leave the Mystic Ice Palace. Even when he, Luo Xing and Luo Ling came back from the secret territory, Luo Bingyue did not come out. Then he walked out of the Mystic Ice Palace. Soon, Lin Yi heard the news from countless discussions. It turned out that the Baiwei Kingdom's Huangfu Jinglei had already arrived. After arriving at the Cloud Water City, he defeated 17 spirit-channeling realm 9th level cultivators in a row. Those who lost to him were all super geniuses. Among them, there was no lack of King Physique geniuses. King Physique geniuses of the 9th level of the spirit-driving realm were defeated by him in less than 3 moves. On the second day, Huangfu Jinglei challenged the 10 super geniuses of the Sky Sword Academy and won all of them. On the third day, Huangfu Jinglei challenged the 10 super geniuses of the Green Rock Academy and won all of them. On the fourth day, Huangfu Jinglei challenged the 10 super geniuses of the South Wind Academy and won all of them. Today, Huangfu Jinglei challenged the super geniuses of the Shengwu Academy. As long as they were in the spirit-driving realm, he would accept them. The super geniuses of the Yinshui Kingdom could not withstand a single blow from him. Even those who had been in the spirit movement mirror for decades were not his opponents. The prowess of Huangfu Jinglei made the prodigies of the Yinshui Kingdom feel immense pressure. They even realized that they were not prodigies at all. In front of Huangfu Jinglei, they were nothing. All the martial artists felt that their future was bleak, as if there was a huge mountain pressing down on their hearts. The battle stage was the battle arena of the Cloud Water Great City. The arena in Yinshui City was one of the busiest places in the entire Yinshui Kingdom. At this moment, the Gladiator Arena, which was 10 miles long and wide, was already crowded with people. Even though they knew that no one in Shengwu College could stop Huangfu Jinglei, as martial artists of the Yinshui Kingdom, they all came to the Gladiator Arena to watch the fight. Nan Yunfeng is also no match for Huangfu Jinglei. In Shengwu College, Nan Yunfeng is the number 1 under the Heaven Star border. Huangfu Jinglei is too monstrous. No one in the same realm is his opponent. I really don't know how strong he is. I believe that even a Heaven Star border realm elite would feel the pressure when facing him. The top 10 prodigies of the other 3 colleges were all defeated by him. This is what happened to Shengwu College. Damn it. Damn it. I'm so angry. Nan Yunfeng lost in 3 moves. He was defeated by Huangfu Jinglei in 3 moves. In the Gladiator Arena, 2 young men were fighting. The Gladiator Arena was surrounded by martial artists from the Cloud Water Great City. Seeing the super geniuses of Paladin Academy being defeated one by one, they felt powerless. They were even more terrified of Huangfu Jinglei's strength. They didn't know exactly how strong Huangfu Jinglei was. Whoosh! After Nan Yunfeng was defeated, a beautiful figure appeared in the Gladiator Arena of Shengwu College. The appearance of the beautiful figure caused a burst of cheers. Countless martial artists were stunned by this beautiful figure. This figure was the number 1 beauty of the Yinshui Kingdom, the goddess in the hearts of countless martial artists, Luo Bingyue. Luo Bingyue was an unparalleled beauty. She was cold and arrogant. She kept everyone 1,000 miles away from her. Her otherworldly temperament made her seem like an otherworldly goddess. In addition to her emperor physique, she was definitely the best target for countless super geniuses. At this moment, as a student of Shengwu College, she naturally had to stand up. Even if she was defeated, she would not run away. Luo Bingyue. Luo Bingyue. For a moment, the cheers shook the sky. Even though they knew that Luo Bingyue was no match for Huangfu Jinglei, she was still the goddess in the hearts of all the prodigies. Luo Bingyue. Not bad. You are the crown princess of the Moon Kingdom. Huangfu Jinglei's slender body stood proudly in the center of the Gladiator Arena. His hands were behind his back, and he looked very confident. Even though he had fought countless battles, he still looked calm and collected. When they saw Luo Bingyue appear, their eyes lit up and their hearts trembled. Luo Bingyue's cold temperament moved everyone's heart. Huangfu Jinglei's tone was like that of an emperor who could not be disobeyed. After this battle, you could go back to the Moon Kingdom. Luo Bingyue's voice was as cold as her. There was no emotion in her voice. It did not match her age at all. When she spoke, she used the heavenly ice skill, and the temperature of the gladiator arena dropped rapidly. After the opening of the new secret realm, Shengwu College had taken out a lot of resources to train her. After she entered the sacred martial palace, her cultivation had reached the 6th level of spirit formation in just half a year. Even so, her cultivation was still far from Huangfu Jinglei's. Luo Bingyue, the difference between you and me is too big. This crown prince is not interested in your talent. You're not my match. It would be bad if I hurt you. To be honest, Yinshui Kingdom does not have a decent prodigy. There is no need for the Yinshui Kingdom to participate in the next prodigy battle. Huangfu Jinglei said indifferently. There was a smile on his face from beginning to end. However, what he said made all the prodigies angry. What he said was the truth, and no one could refute it. Without the confidence and strength to refute, they could only suppress the anger in their hearts. His words trampled all the prodigies of the Yinshui Kingdom. This was a world where the strong were respected. The strong preyed on the weak, and the weak could only be trampled on. The strong were respected and had dignity. The weak were trampled on and had no dignity. Heavenly Ice Sword Technique. Luo Bingyue glanced at Huangfu Jinglei coldly. She slashed out with the long sword in her hand. Suddenly, countless cold sword rays burst out, and the gladiator arena was covered in frost. Spirit Formation Mirror, mobilizing true Yuan and triggering the heaven and earth spiritual qi. As she attacked, wind and thunder rumbled, and the sky changed color. Myriad Finger. With his hands behind his back, Huangfu Jinglei completely ignored Luo Bingyue's attack. When the sword light arrived in front of him, Huangfu Jinglei pointed out with his finger. A terrifying force distorted the space and collided with the sword light. Crack! Crack! For a moment, the sword rays and the finger force collided, bursting out a terrifying sound. Although the attack was ineffective, Luo Bingyue did not stop. The long sword in her hand continued to slash out. Her figure flashed, leaving behind a moon-white afterimage on the gladiator arena. Huangfu Jinglei turned into a blue shadow. The two figures constantly touched and separated. Around the fighting arena, countless experts who were watching the fight were shocked beyond words, because they did not expect that Luo Bingyue could fight with Huangfu Jinglei for a few moves without being defeated. One must know that Nan Yinfeng, who is known as the strongest person under the Heaven Realm, was defeated in the third move. Luo Bingyue was only at the 6th level of the Spirit Formation Mirror, but she was so strong. She was even stronger than Nan Yinfeng. Countless people were looking forward to this scene. They were looking forward to Luo Bingyue defeating Huangfu Jinglei. But everyone knew that it was impossible because Huangfu Jinglei was too heaven-defying. After a short while, the two figures separated. A slight sound was heard. A bloodstain appeared on Luo Bingyue's moon-white dress. There was also a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. Her whole person looked miserable. It was obvious that Luo Bingyue was defeated. On the side, Huangfu Jinglei still had his hands behind his back, looking confident and relaxed. Puchi Luo Bingyue turned to leave the gladiator arena, but she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her beautiful face showed a trace of pain. She endured the pain and walked out of the gladiator arena. The super-strong cultivators of Shengwu College quickly took out healing pills and let Luo Bingyue heal. Although the 4 colleges had super-strong cultivators, they were not allowed to participate. This was the rule. However, even if they did not participate, the super-strong cultivators would still maintain order and not let anyone make trouble. Shengwu College, there is no one who can take one move from me, Huangfu Jinglei said with a smile. The four colleges of the Yinshui kingdom represented the geniuses and strong cultivators of the Yinshui kingdom. Now that Huangfu Jinglei had defeated the strongest geniuses of the four colleges, he had once again trampled on the geniuses of the Yinshui kingdom. Countless martial artists were furious. However, they could only be angry and hate themselves for not being strong enough. Otherwise, they would have gone up to Huangfu Jinglei and beaten up Huangfu Jinglei to wash away the shame of the Yinshui kingdom's geniuses. After hearing Huangfu Jinglei's words, the gladiator arena was silent. "Sister, how are you?" Luo Xing looked sad when she saw her sister injured. However, this was Luo Bingyue's mission. Although she had a holy body now, she was still no match for Huangfu Jinglei. If she went up, she would be humiliated and her talent would be exposed. It would not benefit her at all. Luo Bingyue shook her head and then began to circulate her energy to stabilize her injuries. Brother-in-law, when Luo Xing looked up, she saw a familiar person. She couldn't help but call out. Then she pouted. Obviously, she was angry. "So, you are here. Let's go. The battle is over." Lin Yi nodded. When he saw Luo Xing's expression, he couldn't help but find it funny. His eyes fell on Luo Bingyue. When he saw Luo Bingyue's injuries, he said lightly. It was unclear whether he was talking to Luo Bingyue or Luo Xing. Okay. Although Luo Xing was angry with Lin Yi, she still agreed obediently. That day, she was just angry. She wasn't angry with Lin Yi. However, what made her angry was that Lin Yi deliberately went into seclusion during this period. In her opinion, Lin Yi went into seclusion to avoid trouble. After that, Luo Xing and Luo Ling stepped forward to support Luo Bingyue. They were about to leave with Lin Yi. However, when they were about to leave the gladiator arena, they were stopped by someone. "Brother-in-law, are you Luo Bingyue's fiancé?" Huangfu Jinglei's voice sounded. Chapter 38. What does that have to do with you? Lin Yi stopped, but he didn't turn around. His tone was calm, and he didn't even intend to look at Huangfu Jinglei. Countless people were shocked that he dared to speak to Huangfu Jinglei like this. A toad lusting after a swan. Scram far away from this prince. Huangfu Jinglei was stunned. This was the first time someone had spoken to him like this. This was a blatant disregard for him. A mere youth without a martial soul dared to speak to him like this. He was simply courting death. Originally, when he heard that Lin Yi was Luo Bingyue's fiancé, he wanted to kill him. In his opinion, Luo Bingyue was his future crown princess, and he viewed her as his exclusive property. "What if I don't?" Lin Yi smiled and said. From the beginning to the end, he didn't turn around. From his behavior and tone, it was obvious that he didn't want to see Huangfu Jinglei. He was provoking Huangfu Jinglei with his actions and tone. "If you don't get lost, you'll suffer a fate worse than death," Huangfu Jinglei said coldly, his tone filled with endless killing intent. This was Cloud Water City. Although he couldn't kill Lin Yi here, he had thousands of ways to make Lin Yi suffer a fate worse than death. With your strength? Or with your identity as the crown prince of the Moon Kingdom? Lin Yi turned around, his eyes filled with contempt. These words shocked the hundreds of thousands of spectators around the arena. Everyone's eyes turned to Lin Yi. They didn't know what this youth was thinking. They also didn't know why this youth was so arrogant. He dared to belittle Huangfu Jinglei and humiliate Huangfu Jinglei. What he meant was that he doubted Huangfu Jinglei's strength. He said that Huangfu Jinglei could only rely on his identity as the crown prince of the Moon Kingdom. Other than that, he was useless. How much courage did he have to say such words? It's a shame that Shengwu College has a student like you. You have the guts to step onto the arena. Huangfu Jinglei's face was cold, and the killing intent in his eyes was unbridled. As long as Lin Yi dared to step onto the arena, he would beat Lin Yi to a state worse than death. If he was willing, he could even directly eliminate Lin Yi. However, killing Lin Yi would be beneath his status. There was a rule in the battle arena. As long as one stepped onto the battle arena, life and death would not matter. With just a little bit of strength, you've become arrogant. I didn't want to fight. There's no point in fighting and killing. But today, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of your father. A smile appeared on Lin Ye's face. Under the shocked gazes of countless martial artists, he walked towards the arena step by step. In the eyes of all the martial artists, Lin Yi was just a youth who stood outside the arena and talked nonsense. He didn't dare to enter the arena at all. If he wasn't in the arena, Huangfu Jinglei couldn't do anything to him. Therefore, he teased Huangfu Jinglei in order to please his goddess. However, they didn't expect that Lin Yi would really dare to enter the arena. The experts of Shengwu College revealed helpless expressions when they saw Lin Ye's actions. Lin Yi entering the arena was exactly what Huangfu Jinglei wanted. It would be strange if Huangfu Jinglei didn't cripple him. Outside the arena, hundreds of thousands of martial artists were watching. Their eyes were fixed on Lin Yi and Huangfu Jinglei. Luo Xing's eyes revealed excitement. Although she hadn't known Lin Yi for a long time, she knew a little about Lin Ye's character. He wouldn't easily make a move if he wasn't certain. Now that Lin Yi had made a move, she could see how strong Lin Yi was. Don't be nervous. You can leave here alive today. Huangfu Jinglei smiled when he saw Lin Yi enter the arena. At the same time, he was surprised and puzzled. He didn't know whether Lin Yi was a fool or a madman, or if he had some ability. If he didn't have strength, then Lin Yi was a fool and a madman. Only a madman and a fool would come to die. Similarly, you can leave here alive today. Because you're not qualified to die in my hands, at least not now. Lin Yi smiled and said. As he spoke, he walked step by step toward Huangfu Jinglei. In the end, he stopped 100 meters away from Huangfu Jinglei. He glanced at Huangfu Jinglei. To be honest, Huangfu Jinglei was indeed a handsome man. He was handsome and elegant, and was the male god in the hearts of countless women. Good, very good. From today onwards, remember one thing. Luo Bingwe is the crown princess of the Moon Kingdom. Huangfu Jinglei was furious. The young man in front of him was too hateful. He didn't listen to him at all. However, he didn't use his martial arts. He didn't put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. Very confident, very arrogant. You don't look like you're going to make the first move. Then, I'll give you some pointers. Lin Ye's smile was still on his face. His tone was calm, and he was calm. He didn't feel the slightest pressure or panic when facing Huangfu Jinglei. It was as if he was facing an ordinary person. This indifferent state of mind made countless martial artists feel surprised and impressed. As he spoke, he drew a sword with one hand and used his finger as a sword. The seventh sword of the thunderclap sword technique was displayed at this moment. Suddenly, the space was pierced by a sword light, and it went straight to Huangfu Jinglei. His movements were elegant, and his power was unparalleled. At this moment, Huangfu Jinglei's face showed a trace of seriousness. Although he wasn't afraid of this sword light, he was shocked that Lin Yi had cultivated the thunderclap sword technique to the seventh sword courtyard. Such a person was definitely not comparable to ordinary geniuses. He punched out and met the sword light. Boom! With a loud explosion, the sword light and the fist light collided. You have some strength, Huangfu Jinglei said indifferently. However, neither of them rushed each other. Instead, they stared at each other and activated their martial arts. They were ready to burst out a destructive attack at any time. Is that so? I hope you can keep pretending. Lin Yi had a smile on his face as he pinched his sword. A sword light cut through the space and sprinkled towards Huangfu Jinglei. Since he had already made his move, he would not give his opponent a chance. If his opponent wanted to pretend, it was his opponent's business. He would not pretend. Hiss, in the space, a sword light distorted the space. Using his finger as a sword, the sword chi was released with a terrifying sword intent. Each sword light was terrifying and overbearing. It was enough to kill any powerhouse below the 8th level of the spirit realm. Countless sword lights appeared together. Even a heaven realm powerhouse would not be able to gain the slightest advantage. Thunderclap, sword technique, 7th sword. Using his finger as a sword, the sword chi was released. I really didn't expect him to be so strong. underestimated him. It turns out that he is a genius. In thousands of years, he is the first to cultivate the thunderclap sword technique to the seventh sword. How long has he been cultivating? He has already reached the seventh sword. No wonder he dares to challenge Huangfu Jinglei. However, he is still not Huangfu Jinglei's opponent. Outside the arena, hundreds of thousands of martial artists were shocked when they saw Lin Yi display the seventh sword. However, even so, they believe that Lin Yi was still not Huangfu Jinglei's opponent. Let me show you what thunderclap is. Huangfu Jinglei was also surprised. However, he did not regard Lin Yi as an opponent because he did not put Lin Yi in his eyes at all. As he spoke, he waved his hand and a destructive arc fell from the sky, striking towards Lin Yi. Born with a thunder body, the attack was terrifying and overbearing. He who controlled thunder was invincible among his peers. Not to mention that Lin Yi was one level lower than him. No matter which aspect, Lin Yi was not Huangfu Jinglei's opponent. Humph. Lin Yi snorted coldly with a trace of disdain in his voice. If it was any other type of attack, he would have to take it seriously. However, since it was a lightning-type attack, he didn't care about it at all. Staring at the lightning bolts in the air, he shook his head and continued to execute the thunderclap sword art, causing a tyrannical sword light to erupt forth. Rumble, rumble, the electric arc struck Lin Yi's body without any suspense. This was because Lin Yi didn't even try to block this electric arc. The terrifying arc disappeared from Lin Yi's body. In everyone's eyes, the overbearing arc was a destructive attack. When it landed on Lin Yi's body, they could already guess what would happen to Lin Yi. However, what shocked countless martial artists was that Lin Yi was not affected at all. Huangfu Jinglei thought that the lightning would seriously injure Lin Yi, but when he saw the result, he almost vomited blood. What a terrifying defense. He directly ignored Huangfu Jinglei's attack. This arc, even a spirit formation realm expert would not be able to block it. Indeed, any martial artist below the 5th level of the spirit formation realm would definitely fall in front of this arc. Who would have thought that Lin Yi would directly ignore it? How terrifying is his physical defense? He, in the secret territory, received 9 lightning bolts. The arc in the secret territory, compared to Huangfu Jinglei's, was more than 100 times stronger. That kind of power did not kill Lin Yi. Instead, it allowed Lin Yi to temper his body. Huangfu Jinglei's arc naturally could not do anything to Lin Yi. Around the battle arena, there were hundreds of thousands of martial artists. Among them, there was no lack of Heaven's Pride experts. Seeing Lin Yi block Huangfu Jinglei's attack, they were extremely shocked. Some of the martial artists who had seen Lin Yi in the secret territory, Tiandu Peak, knew how powerful Lin Yi was. Even the arc in the secret territory could not kill Lin Yi. Huangfu Jinglei's arc was undoubtedly just scratching an itch for Lin Yi. Damn it! Huangfu Jinglei heard the discussions of countless martial artists and was shocked. He finally understood why Lin Yi dared to block his attack. It turned out that Lin Yi was immune to lightning. In other words, his arc was not as powerful as the one in the secret territory. If his arc was stronger, then Lin Yi would be seriously injured or even killed. In that moment of distraction, Lin Yi's sword light landed on Huangfu Jinglei. A bloody wound appeared on Huangfu Jinglei's arm. The bright red wound was extremely glaring. This was Huangfu Jinglei's humiliation, to be injured by a young man he didn't even care about. This was the first time that he had been provoked and humiliated since he came to the Yunshui Kingdom. Thunderstorm, destroy everything. Huangfu Jinglei was furious. He was high above everyone else and looked down on everyone else. It was an insult that he was injured by Lin Yi in front of hundreds of thousands of martial artists. If he did not defeat Lin Yi cleanly and severely injure him, then he would become the joke of all the martial artists in the Yunshui Kingdom for the rest of his life. In the future, he might even be traumatized. He could no longer be careless and relaxed. The terrifying talent of an ultimate emperor body was displayed. An overbearing fist of light smashed toward Lin Yi. The space was constantly being torn apart by the thunderstorm. They were 50 meters apart, but in the blink of an eye, The fist of light was right in front of Lin Yi. The speed and power of the fist had reached a terrifying level. At this moment, the sword chi that Lin Yi had unleashed had all turned into nothingness. They had all been shattered by the fist light. It looked like the fist light was about to land on Lin Yi's body with its destructive power. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.